This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Surratt's in there with Nowakowski, so two tight ends in the ball game now. Mendoza takes the snap and fakes it. He's running it. Touchdown. There you go, Buck. Right on top of it. And Fernando Mendoza gets it into the end zone.
Maccabee going to take a direct snap, and Maccabee lunges ahead. Maccabee is into the end zone for another Purdue touchdown.
Under pressure, off his back foot, up for grabs, and caught! C.J. Daniels, a tremendous one-handed catch. Fake to Love, they throw it away, batted around and intercepted. They have not trailed tonight. What a kick! Good! Second and 17, he's going down again.
Well, I know that they bring the head cold, but they're.
Here I am, rock you like a hurricane.
Mark Dykton's coming off a 3-day weekend, and Kevin Bowen, he chose violence for you right off the bat there, man. How about that?
Yeah, Mark can kiss my ass.
Man, oh, man. Good morning, Mark Dykton. Good morning, James Boyd. You and I just need to stay out of the way over here and avoid being hit with friendly fire this morning, man.
Yeah, I thought about texting Kevin, but I was like, nah, he's one of those real fans, so I'll just wait and see if he makes it in today.
Thank you, James.
He did make it in today. We all
Voice
rolling.
is struggling. I'm hurt, and Mark just loves to pick.
Maybe
On the bright side, though, you got your Bill Belichick hate watch.
Boy, did I get it last night. Unbelievable.
Did you enjoy 3 hours of that?
I went to bed probably end of, I don't know, maybe like middle of the second, so it still wasn't at that level. I turn it back on, like in the fourth, just to check the score, and Kirk Herbstreit's dog is wearing a headset.
Yep, that was pretty much the
That
end of the game.
sums up everything. Bill Belichick, most points he's ever allowed as a head coach. Is that right?
Ever.
48.
To
The
the Horned
Bills
Frogs.
came close a couple of times down the end there, very close. But, man, that was, the way it started off, too, and I don't know if you watched it at all last night, James. North Carolina gets the ball first. They get the opening kickoff, and it's boom, 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 boom. I think it was 5 plays. One of them included a 44-yard pass reception, and they looked like they were just going to carve up TCU all night long, and that was pretty much it. They scored once more later on in the game, but 48-14, that's a beatdown right there.
Welcome to college football. It's probably not as easy as it looks.
Not for anybody. So 3-day weekend has come and gone. Also, you talk about a tough weekend. The attached garage, the fire alarm's been going off in there for an hour now, Mark. Nobody seems to be all that bothered by it. So there you go. Did you wake up to that as you walked in this morning, James?
Well, luckily my alarm at home went off. That'd be crazy to wake up to that. But no, it was a little alarming, and I was just thinking, well, that ain't my problem. I just got to get to the chair by 7.
I like it. So a lot of college football in the books. A big win for Indiana. Kurt Cignetti starts his second season with another win over Old Dominion. Little uneven, but they got it done. I thought it was a nice night or nice afternoon for Barry Odom. Purdue doing what they're supposed to do against Ball State, 31-0. Not a lot to see there. That's the way you want to start it off. But Notre Dame did struggle a little bit. Miami came out there ready to play at home. That was, it was a competitive football game for a while, and then Miami just kind of took control. Notre Dame came back in the fourth quarter. I kind of thought for a minute there that they're going to rally for the win, and last minute field goal for Miami, and Notre Dame just didn't have time to respond.
Yeah, I've done the grieving state. I was a fan of oh my gosh, here I am overreacting like none other to the Notre Dame game because they don't play for 2 weeks now. So it's like, wait, was that real? Was the O-line and D-line, did they get bullied that much? Or should I just say, you know what, top 10 game on the road, first-time starter, and Notre Dame turned the ball over twice and Miami didn't? Should I just leave it at that, or should I overreact to it more?
Turnovers, man.
Always overreact.
But you lose by a field goal on the road with a couple of key turnovers.
Top
That's gonna
10
hurt
team, first-time starter. I thought they were way too protective of C.J. Carr. The passing offense was just horizontal. It's like at some point, I get the weather's a little dicey. At some point, you got to get vertical. Jeremiah Love, hardly any touches. So
here's my question,
I was bothered.
Whenever I see offenses like that, that tells me that maybe they don't trust their trenches. because when you do screens and bubbles and you don't run the ball with one of the best running backs in the country, you probably don't think you can win up front.
Yeah, which is wild because that's supposed to be,
I know.
Their,
that was so weird to see.
Their strength.
Also, Jeremiah Love, I do love the way you play. Pun intended.
Too many hurdles.
Yes. I'm just thinking to myself, one of these days,
oh my gosh,
you are going to ruin your leg or something.
Or he's going to have birth control for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I mean, and then the thing about it is he'll hurdle when there's no clear place to land. So I get that. If you're at the goal line or, it's a do or die situation, you're trying to get a first down to extend your season or whatever. But week 1, I'm thinking there's a lot more games left, brother. I need you to be out there.
Should I be worried?
No, I think what I like about the expanded playoff now is that if you do lose one game, it's not like, oh my gosh, there goes your season and your chance to compete for it all. I mean, I really don't think that we'll see a lot of undefeated teams anymore when it comes to running the table or trying to win it all. So I think
last year you had, 3 losses in the national title game,
exactly.
right? Ohio
so
State
I think that's probably going to be the new trend.
You better get that one at Texas A&M, though.
I know. Yeah. You got to split, and again, the fact that the trench play, to James's point, wasn't up to Notre Dame. Like, we know Notre Dame's probably not going to out-athlete a lot of teams on the perimeter. So, but, boy, Miami had some dudes that made some hell of catches, and Carson Beck hung in there and delivered a few. And, yeah, that was quite the atmosphere. There was a lot. And as soon as I saw Corso pick Miami, I thought, oh, boy, there goes my weekend.
I loved his send-off, though. That was awesome.
That
Shout
was
out
awesome.
to the GOAT. And he also went a perfect.
Pick Florida State.
Yeah, I was going to say he went perfect on all of his picks.
You want to talk about a catch, though? Catch of the week was probably that Miami touchdown catch, the one-hander, wasn't it?
Yeah, and if you want to move on from the Notre Dame Miami game at any point,
I just wanted to point out.
I'm
I
ready.
was thinking, man.
But that's probably, it's going people are going to have to go to not make that be one of the plays of the year. That was just an insane catch. And again, I think that's okay for Notre Dame. You go on the road, you lose to another top 10 team. It takes that catch and 2 turnovers, and you only lose by a field goal. I think there's a lot to build on there, Kevin. I do. I think there's a lot to build on there.
Positivity.
You, Mark had learned something from you.
I got to needle you a little bit.
You're a man of integrity over there.
Something like that. It is also NFL Week 1, Thursday night game, Friday night game. The Colts host the Miami Dolphins on Sunday. It's time. It was a little bit cooler outside yesterday. Spent a lot of time outside with the boys, also teaching everybody to drive. We got a lot of hours in this weekend, so that was good. Did you do anything fun this weekend, James?
Yeah, stopped by my university Friday. Went and saw one of my teachers who's basically like another father for me, and then went home to see the family. So came home late last night, and when I left my parents' house, North Carolina was up 7-0. And then when I got here, I was like, oh, that's how it turned out. So had a good weekend and back to the grind this week. It is certainly going to be a busy week for me and many others when it comes to this NFL life, but I'm also excited because I get sick of talking about what could be and what should be and what might be. Let's take a look at what is, 6 days from now or 5 days from now.
No question about that. I thought of all of you guys because with the discussion every once in a while moving to the very popular kids TV show Bluey. Did you guys see Hunter Renfrow was re-signed by the Carolina Panthers over the weekend as a wide receiver because they need somebody after the Adam Thielen trade. They were trying to get a hold of him. They left him messages and tried to call him at least 10 times because his daughter had his phone, Mark Dykton, and she was watching Bluey, and she's not turning Bluey off to let Dad know that someone's trying to get a hold of him.
That is awesome.
Yeah, we're getting to the point where I'm like, I need my phone back, and I'll be like, there's missed calls, there's missed text messages. I'm like, you guys got to alert me of this. Oh, sorry.
So this happens to you too?
Oh, yeah. Hey, Mom called 6 times. Oh, that's okay. I was watching something. Oh, okay. My wife's in a panic.
So Bluey continues to rule the kids' world. That's how that worked. And apparently, by extension, starts to rule everybody's world. Could you imagine if the Panthers just gave up and then moved on and signed another wide receiver? You missed an NFL
Blame
job.
it on an Australian
because the
dog.
kids, man.
That's awesome.
And you can't get mad at the kids, right? You can't get mad at a kid.
I was about to say, yes,
You're
can.
costing me an NFL contract. Yes, you can. Absolutely.
I don't know. Depends how old they are. There's a limit
No,
like that.
there is no age limit.
All right, we're off and running. It is a short week, but it is a big week. We've got college football over the weekend to talk about, both Indiana and Purdue. We've got the Colts coming up against the Dolphins. We've got all kinds of things to worry about today. I can't wait to get to it. We'll start next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good morning. First Tuesday of September. That means NFL football is on the horizon. First game coming up on Thursday night. We got one on Friday night. I'll get details on that in a minute. But the Colts play Sunday at home against the Miami Dolphins. James Boyd, any lingering questionable injuries? We'll be keeping a close eye on this week leading up to the game.
I think the big one will probably be Josh Downs and his hamstring. Where is he at? I caught up with him last week. He told me he would be okay and good to go, hopefully, for week one. But obviously, you still got to see when he's out there. And I think Jalen Jones as well with his hamstring. Where is he at in his recovery, and will he be available? And what would that mean for your cornerback room that is still kind of in flux?
Kevin Bowen, we know that it'll be the first start for Daniel Jones as an Indianapolis Colt. What do we need to worry about with the Miami Dolphins right now?
Yeah, they do have Tua. Last year's matchup, that did not happen. The Colts actually were outstanding last year in limiting Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Now, of course, the quarterbacks were, that Boyle dude and Tyler Snoop Huntley. So a little bit different with a healthy Tua there. But Miami is banged up, both sides of the ball. They're secondary, dealing with some injuries. But, yeah, to James's point, you were looking probably at 21 of 22 Colts starters out there week one. The Colts are a slight favorite for this one, just a monumental game. And I'm not even talking about the week one drought streak. I think if you're going to rank the 17 games on this schedule and how important each one of them is to the season and to making the playoffs, et cetera, this one I would rank right up there, really just behind the Houston games with how big it is.
Yeah, and they'll be playing Miami on Sunday. And right now, Mark, for your information and informational and entertainment purposes only, the over-under is 46.5, and right now the Colts are 1.5-point favorites. How do you feel about that?
Sounds like a pick'em game, so I think I would probably go elsewhere for my NFL bets in week one, just because I don't know what the hell is going to be with the Dolphins or the Colts. I'd probably save that money and go elsewhere, and it gave me feel a little more confident.
Yeah, I'm a big wait-and-see week one betting guy. I don't do a whole lot until the second week or so, but we'll find out what the line looks like towards the end of the week as far as the rest of the NFL is concerned. I mentioned there's a Thursday night game with the Dallas Cowboys, the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champions, and then Friday night, the team that they whooped up on in the Super Bowl, Kansas City, plays the Chargers in Brazil. First time we had an NFL game in Brazil, James.
Yeah, I wish I was going to cover that one.
Didn't we have it last year?
Yeah, we did
Green Bay
year.
last
Or
year.
did we have Brazil last year?
Yeah.
I thought this was the first one for Brazil, so I stand corrected.
No, it was Packers-Eagles last year.
Thank you very much. Moving on to
You
college.
stand corrected? I'm confused. Is it the first one or the second one?
Second.
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 Okay.
I stand corrected. It was the first. That's what I'm saying. All right. So college football over the weekend. How about this? Indiana, led by their new quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, just enough to hold on to Old Dominion 27-14. Kevin, we were all a little bit worried when right out of the gate there was a 75-yard touchdown for the quarterback on the ground for Old Dominion, and they kind of held tight, and Indiana kept them in the game for a while, but ultimately pulled out for a 27-14 win.
Yeah, I think, there are a lot of things you point to where Indiana controlled the game much, much, much more than the score indicated. I think ODU had, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 snaps on Indiana's side of the field.
Yeah.
They had the 2 big runs.
The defense was terrific.
But yes, I thought Mendoza was just a little off. There are a couple throws that, frankly, it was probably a good thing they played the competition that they did, because easily could have been picked off there. Obviously, you saw Omar Cooper drop that, definite touchdown there. But Kurt Cignetti is not in the mood to overreact whatsoever. He made that abundantly clear yesterday at his press conference. Like, hey, we were in full control. And again, I think there's some merit behind that. And honestly, last year, they really struggled in the opener. Or I shouldn't say really struggled, but they kind of played with their food, if you will, in the opener. And obviously, we saw how last season.
Yeah, Jonathan Brady electrified everybody with an end of the first quarter 91-yard punt return. You mentioned Mendoza, 18 of 31 for 193 yards. Purdue over Ball State, 31-0. The Barry Odom era is off to a good start. Ryan Brown threw for 311 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for another one on the ground. Miami did beat Notre Dame, the 10th-ranked Hurricanes at home over the 6th-ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish. 27-24 was the final score there, and I thought it took Notre Dame a while to get the offense going. But in the fourth quarter, I really thought they were going to come back and win the football game, Kevin. I did.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when you look at that Miami kicker, and he was like 4 of 11 in his career coming into that game, and in the rain, he booms a 47-yarder for the win. Yeah, I mean, college kickers, that's literally the worst job in the world. So I was thinking to myself, oh boy, if he misses this, is this going to feel like it had a feel of a little Penn State, Georgia last year for Notre Dame, probably more Penn State than anything, but they didn't deserve to win.
Yeah. Also over the weekend in the Missouri Valley, Indiana State 41, McKendree 24. Northern Iowa won at home against Butler 38-14, and Valpo all over Virginia Lynchburg 67-10. One other game of note last night. The Bill Belichick era is underway, James Boyd. And after just a scintillating first drive to open the game and take a 7-0 lead, 41 straight points followed by TCU. They win it 48-14, one of the worst beatdowns, if not the worst beatdown Bill Belichick has ever had, and the UNC Belichick era is off to a slow start.
Yeah, I was surprised to see the score be what it was at the end. I did not watch that entire game. Saw, again, the first touchdown, and after that, I just went on about my business, and turns out that it's not as easy as it looks, even for who many consider to be one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Yeah, I think TCU felt a little disrespected all week long. Remember, they had lost in the Deion Sanders debut to Colorado. I don't think that they were in a mood to have it happen again, especially on the road, and they were much better last night. WNBA over the weekend, the Golden State Valkyries over the Indiana Fever Sunday, 75-63. Kelsey Mitchell had 14, Natasha Howard had 13. They are now tied for 7th in the WNBA standings with Seattle right now. Both teams 21-19, and both teams a game and a half up on the Los Angeles Sparks. I'm starting to wonder, do we see Caitlin Clark again this year? If this team is struggling to get into the playoffs as an 8 seed, do they bring her back in a desperate attempt to try and get over the top, or do they just shut it down at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe for the playoffs, but that's I'm clearly trying to emphasize that. I don't think, unless I missed something, I didn't see any Caitlin Clark update out west. I know they played tonight, but it's not like she started to progress more through practice. Stephanie White told Jake last week she's going to need 5 practices. So, yeah, I mean, a week from today, right, is it? That's in their regular season. So, yeah, I mean, no way she plays in the regular season, I think, at this point. And then playoff-wise, we'll see. They might have to get on a little bit of a run to even entertain that thought.
Yeah, just to point it out real quick, they're actually in the 7th seed right now. Seattle lost last night. So Seattle's in the 8th spot. Indiana's in the 7th spot. They're 21-19. Seattle's 22-20. Big game tonight for the Fever because they're facing the Mercury, and we know there's some blood there. I don't know if it's bad blood still, but it's a big game.
Yeah, technically Indiana percentage points, Ed, because they just don't have quite as many games at this point in time. They're both the same amount of games back at this point in time. Meanwhile, they will play again tonight. Our Drive Hubler keys to the game at Phoenix. Man, they just keep rotating players in and out, and for this team, it always seems to be the same thing. If they play defense, they're going to get offense. They know how to score the basketball, Kevin.
Yeah, and Phoenix has been very good here lately. I think they've won 4 in a row. If I'm not mistaken, as James pointed out, this is DeWanna Bonner. She's with the Mercury. We've now seen these teams match up a couple times, so I think maybe that storyline isn't as prevalent, but nonetheless, it will be. I mean, can you imagine if they finish off this road trip going 3-1 without Caitlin Clark? That would be huge, and really, I think one probably win is enough to cement themselves as a playoff team. I want to say the Sparks are 2 games behind, maybe a game and a half, so that would be huge for the Fever to try and get 1, definitely 2 more. Should be good for a playoff spot.
Yeah, and they will play at Phoenix tonight, 10 p.m. tip time, 9:45, the fan pregame show with Eddie Garrison. Major League Baseball, the Cubs won 2 out of 3 over the weekend against the Rockies. They beat the Braves last night, 7-6. And Mark, we're just solidified a wild card spot. That's just kind of what it's going to be at this point in time.
Well, you pulled a game on Milwaukee because Milwaukee fell in extras to the Phillies, so you down 5.5. So not out of the realm of possibility, but I mean at this point, wild card seems to be the way they're going, unless the Brewers really hit a rough patch or anything. But whatever. Good to see.
All right.
Postseason impending.
Cincinnati Reds won against the Blue Jays yesterday, Kevin. So you got that going on. Hold on to that for yourself.
Yeah.
St. Louis Cardinals got a butt whooping. They lose to 11-3 to the Oakland A's. Also, the Chicago White Sox, a winner over the Twins, 6-5 was the final score there. The Indianapolis Indians had the day off, and they are on the road now at Columbus for a 6:15 start later on tonight. Cubs host the Braves again at 7:40. Reds host the Blue Jays, and the Cardinals host the A's, while the White Sox are on the road to take on the Minnesota Twins.
Put all that Notre Dame angst in a Reds postseason push. Last a couple weeks, let's go on a run here.
Just shut the hell up, Mark.
Jeez. Again, choosing violence there. You knew what you were doing there. I'll pretend to be nice, but really I know I'm going to trigger Kevin.
You hear that
what
little
happened there?
petty laugh he had.
Yeah.
right
Yeah, no, I
before
saw
all
the
that.
expression on his
Just
face.
I don't know what you're
pathetic.
talking about.
I saw the expression on your
You
face.
never see Mark smile more than when he finds a clip that he can use against us or when one of our teams loses.
That's true.
The IndyCar season comes to an end. Joseph Newgarden wins in Nashville. And, of course, Alex Palou gets the series overall. And in NASCAR yesterday, we had a win in they were at Darlington yesterday, as a matter of fact, and it was Chase Briscoe that got the win. Anything else you guys want to throw in from a busy weekend?
I think you covered it all.
All
So
right.
I think I saw Tyrese Halliburton shooting some free throws.
Yeah,
so
I did see that video last night. So
there
that
we
was
go.
Good.
That's a little feel-good
He'll be
moment
dunking
there
tomorrow.
to cap the weekend.
It goes slower than you ever think and faster than you ever think all at the same time when you're trying to rehab an injury like that. But we will not see him on the floor at an NBA game until next year. Just remember that and don't get your hopes up too much. All right, coming up in a minute, we will start to take a look ahead at the Miami Dolphins as they will be in town to take on the Colts. You're listening to the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton right here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Happy Tuesday. Hope you had a terrific 3-day weekend, or at least you got to take part in a 3-day weekend out and about running errands over the weekend. A lot of people still working on Sunday and Monday, so thanks to all those folks. Keep the place up and running. We appreciated that. Kevin Bowen, it is go time for the Indianapolis Colts, and we are about to find out if the decision to make Daniel Jones the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts is going to pay off for this team that just desperately wants the division win would be great, but just get to the playoffs at some point, right?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we are here. As James said, I'm just ready to finally get to some answers and just to see exactly how a new defense looks. Certainly a new quarterback. I expect Tyler Warren to be a huge part if you have any lingering fantasy football drafts, which I believe we have one, right? Tomorrow morning, Mark, is that right? 9 a.m.?
Yeah, and we might have a last-second spot available because some person has not signed up. And his name is not Jeff Rickard, so we have a listener.
Oh, that was good last week.
We have a listener that is yet to sign up, so if we get to tomorrow's show and they still haven't signed up, we might have a last-second spot open.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Mark's tough. He's a tough commissioner.
We can't even draft if we don't have a full roster. We need everybody.
You kind of need everybody.
I bring that up to say I think Tyler Warren is someone to draft very high in your fantasy leagues. Kicker. They have a new kicker this year. I think NFL games, hell, college games, you can see kicking matter a whole lot. So, yeah, I'm just enough of the offseason talk, enough of all of it. It kind of just has worn me out at this point. So, ready to react to games. And I get that this is not the most anticipated Colt season by any means.
Yeah,
I get that there is a lot of apathy, frankly, from fans. Some feel like, hey, you're just going through the motions. This is Chuck Pagano in 2017. You know full well he's going to get fired, so let's just see what happens next. And that obviously turned into Josh McDaniels and Frank Reich. So that was quite the drama-filled offseason. But nonetheless, they will play a football season, 17 games of it, and the AFC South is the AFC South. And I don't think the Colts are going to be some god-awful team and drafting top 10, I'd be surprised by that. So, yeah, I think I got a chance to definitely be a playoff team.
James, your expectations against the Miami Dolphins in week 1, it kind of feels like I have no idea what we're going to get at this point in time with Daniel Jones under center, with the Dolphins having their guys back, completely different team than the Colts saw a year ago.
Yeah, and if I remember that game correctly, it was kind of close. I want to say it was a one-score game against Miami with no quarterbacks. So a win is a win. You don't care how you get them, but that is something to keep in mind is that this isn't a team that they necessarily just manhandled the last time they were out there. And obviously, they're going to be better with Tua in there, at least offensively, I would think. But they also look a lot different, and I think that they're kind of on the hot seat down there in Miami too, not because of the weather, just because of the situation. This is a team that I believe they have the longest drought for playoff wins in the NFL, and they didn't make the playoffs last year. They're an expensive team with, Tua and Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, but they don't win. And so they're under just as much pressure, I think, to win week 1 as the Colts. So we'll see who's able to prevail and start season on a high note.
Yeah, last year's game, that was the Grant Stewart 18 tackle game. That was Shaguna Luby having a huge strip there in the second half. If I remember correctly, I feel like there were some boo birds inside of Lucas Oil Stadium.
It was nasty. It was a terrible game.
During that game, and then things kind of changed there with some unheralded linebackers. Miami did run it really well against Indy, but definitely struggled to throw it. And, again, I think with Miami and Tua, you almost just kind of throw last year's game. I don't know if you do it entirely out the window, but a lot of it because they are such a different team with him in the lineup. I want to say they average, I think it's 6 or 7 more points per game. Their record is vastly different when he's playing versus when he's not. And I think we remember him certainly in college, and he's a great in-rhythm thrower, and his timing is probably one of the quicker releases in the entire league in terms of getting rid of it. So, again, what does this new defensive scheme look like? What is a subplot of, hey, Xavier Howard for the Colts, likely as a starter, I would assume, and then is Juju Brents going to all of a sudden play for Miami in week 1? That is a little bit of a subplot here. So huge game. Miami also will have a new kicker. Their veteran kicker has been a good kicker in this league. Jason Sanders is out with an injury for the first month or so. So they have already done the old kicker tryout here. So fourth down could get interesting for both these teams.
We'll have more for you from Cameron Wolfe. He covers the NFL for NFL Network, but he's based in Miami, so he's always got a pulse on the Dolphins, and he's also pretty close to AR's camp. So we'll hear from him later today, I believe at the 9 o'clock hour. So stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for more quarterback information coming up in The Athletic from James Boyd, too, this week, right?
Yeah, I got some things to write as we speak. And so after this show, I will be doing the do.
Kevin, people are already worried about you, and I appreciate that. Greg texting in at 239-1070. I can't hardly watch a Notre Dame game without thinking, I wonder how Kevin's doing. Often concerned for his well-being. Haha.
Thank you, Greg. It's utterly pathetic what a Notre Dame loss does to my life. It's just sad. I mean, at one point, Maddie's looking at me like, now remember, these are 19-year-old and 20-year-olds you'll probably never meet in your life. And it's always humbling.
That wouldn't make me feel better at all.
I feel like she says that to me like every year during football season, and it just never helps me out at all. I think the worst part is now the 2-week break. It's like, so now for 2 weeks, I mean, last night I went back and I started to rewatch the game. I mean, it's just so pathetic. And I'm like, wait, is the O-line and D-line not very good? Or again, should I just sit here and say, you know what, top 10 team on the road, in the rain, super protective of their young quarterback, 2 turnovers to 0. That's it, Kevin. Don't overreact. Notre Dame will be fine.
I think that's the way to go.
Is Miami good? Is Carson Beck good?
They're ranked in the top 10. Carson Beck did a nice job. He wasn't Superman, but he did a nice job.
What do you guys think of Arch?
Mark,
you like to turn the mic on.
Let me ask you this, Mark. But
let
me ask you this. With everything that had been said and written and pontificated about Arch Manning and Texas being ranked, if he did anything other than throw for at least 275 and 3 touchdowns, people are going to be like, If Texas had won and he threw for 225, a touchdown, and ran for 15 yards, people would have been, whatever. There was no win for him.
No, I feel like they would have hyped that. They hyped him last year when he played against really nobody. So I get what you're saying to a degree, Jeff, but if he had done anything positive, and if they had won, his first start on the road at Ohio State and you win, they were going to hype that.
I mean, I get you're saying this in the national champions, but you're still the number 1 ranked team in the country, and you put up 7 whole points the whole game. And
against one of the best defenses returning last year, too, on the road in Columbus. And I'm not trying to excuse it because they didn't win. But I also thought that he got better in the second half as the game went along and started to find his rhythm a little bit more.
A little bit, but he missed too many throws that were simple, honestly. And that was my biggest takeaway, was not necessarily the matchups, because I knew it was going to be tough. Ohio State probably has the best defense in the country. I mean, Caleb Downs, we saw Josh Downs' little brother stud. He's going to be a top 5 pick most likely when he's eligible. But the throws that he missed, I was thinking, I know you have been throwing a football since you could probably walk. And just bad habits. There were a couple of throws where there's no pressure on him. He's throwing off his back foot.
A lot of jitters, I thought.
Yeah, and so, again, I don't think it's a referendum on his entire career. But I will say, and I was arguing on social media about this because I like to argue, he is not generational. And we need to stop throwing that word around for every single quarterback that we see. I mean, they said it with Caleb Williams at USC, and I didn't think it then either. I mean, that is generational. It means once in a generation. Like, generational means to me Cam Newton, like Tim Tebow, like those guys
Patrick
who
Mahomes.
were just awesome. Not even, I wouldn't even say Patrick Mahomes generational in college.
But he's turned it, not in college, but he's turned into an NFL generational.
So I just don't understand that part of it. Like, if you told me, he had a bad game and maybe he was not as good as we thought, that's fine. But people tell me, he wasn't generational. Well, duh. What would give you that impression other than his last name? If his last name wasn't Manning, we would not be hyping this dude like we have. We'll be asking the same question we just asked about C.J. Carr. So, to me, it's humbling, but he'll be fine. I think he'll still be a good quarterback. It's just that, again, if he's not Eli Manning or Peyton Manning, well, those guys are number 1 picks. So let's just pump the brakes a little bit.
239-1070 is the number for the text line. You can also call us up at that number as well, 239-1070. Mark writes, when everyone's biggest endorsement of Daniel Jones is how hard he works, isn't that an indictment on others in the locker room, or at least his predecessor? If it's not the exception, or at least exceptional in comparison, I don't understand the hype. I just think no one made a huge deal about hard workers in the locker room with Peyton, Marvin, et cetera, because that was the standard, not the exception. He also says there's no preseason in college football. Is it any surprise that one of the most experienced quarterbacks looked the best, Carson Beck, and the younger guys struggled at first? But
good point.
really, it's the Colts thing I want to talk about, Kevin. What is the standard right now? Just be good, work hard?
Yeah, it's
like a pep talk to Max Bowen when he dropped him off at.
He did his homework.
Yeah.
He turned it in.
right.
He turned it in. He has no missing assignments.
Rosie and Max,
Yeah, and
be good and work hard.
I think I made the college analogy to Anthony Richardson early in camp of like he's at least showing up to class. Whereas last year he wasn't showing up to class. Now he's at least showing up to class.
I like it.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to I think the audio we played Friday, if I remember correctly. When asked about possibly being involved in some short yardage packages or some of the goal line stuff, Shane Steichen's answer to that question for Anthony Richardson was very quickly about he just needs to kind of kill the job that we're giving him right now. He needs to crush that job, be the backup quarterback, be a pro. I think he actually said that exact phrase. And again, part of me with Steichen words, are we just dissecting these just because he's the head coach of the NFL team here in town, or is he trying to really tell you something here? The question wasn't about Anthony Richardson's work ethic. The question was about, will you involve him in short yardage packages? You didn't do it last year with Joe Flacco starting, so, why? Or, again, would you do it this year? So I do think there is a point to that, and frankly, I don't think either player's talent level in the NFL has been to where you can be overly complimentary of what they do on the field. So you do have to go to a lot of the stuff off the field. And, again, it's the reality of the Colts quarterback situation. It's the bed that they've kind of made for themselves. But we'll see how much can Daniel Jones manage it? Can he manage it? Can he hit guys in stride? Can he allow for guys to make plays after the catch? Can he have a methodical passing game, stay away from the turnovers? That's what the Colts are hoping for. The Colts believe that their support around Daniel Jones is far better than what he had in New York. And if that's the case, then I do think you can make something out of this season. Does that mean Daniel Jones is the next franchise quarterback? That's a different question. Much, much different question. But here in the present, I do think there is a pathway for that.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see because, again, the hope seems to be if Daniel Jones just doesn't make a lot of mistakes, makes a play here and there, but really lets that running game and JT and those wide receivers kind of take the bulk of the responsibility on offense and then let that revamped defense, particularly in the secondary, just hold teams down, which was a problem last year, that they should be okay. That seems to be how this team for 2025 is built, James.
Yeah, if you look at it from a glass half full standpoint, this is a team that went 8-9 last year, 9-8 the year before, and their quarterbacks were Anthony Richardson, Gardner Minshew, and Joe Flacco, and their defense never finished better than 24th in points allowed per game. So it's like if we get an average defense and we get average quarterback play, we should be a playoff team, especially in a division that every year is wide open. And I know some Houston fans, if you're listening for whatever reason, might be like, no, it's not wide open. We have CJ Stroud. But the point is they never run away with it. It feels like the last month of the season, you're always in the mix. It's just you can't get over the hump or the top because of some of the deficiencies that are just too glaring when it comes to your defense or your offense for that matter. So I believe that is what the Colts are shooting for. Now, Colts fans can push back and say, well, what's the point of being average? Because we won't win anything if we're average. That is a good point, but I think the goal right now is just to win, period, which is what they haven't done in years past. You're, in a 4-year playoff drought, and you got to get back to the dance, I think, to even attempt to keep this regime or whatever together.
All right, well, we'll start to find out on Sunday against the Miami Dolphins. We'll have plenty of discussion. We'll check in with Cameron Wolf. You said covers the NFL in general, but lives in Miami, so has a pretty good up-close personal view of the Miami Dolphins. We'll do that in the 9 o'clock hour. I'm looking forward to that. Text rolling in, too, talking about quarterbacks and generational quarterbacks. He says, George says, people forget Eli and Peyton didn't exactly win college championships, and if he wasn't mistaken, Peyton had some kryptonite down there in the swamp with Spurrier where he just couldn't get over that hump. So, but people also looked at Peyton Manning and thought that everything that he had translated extremely well to the NFL. Even in college, they thought that.
Yeah, absolutely. And my thing is, Quint Ewers, I believe, was a starter the last 2 years at Texas. And if you're so generational, why were you sitting behind him? The best players play. It happens all the time. So I'm not even saying that the Arch won't be good or great in college. It's just that, again, let's pump the brakes on that narrative. I get a kick out of some of that. And then I do want to blame us in the media to a degree because you see some of the takes, and I'm like, what else was going to be the turnout about his performance? What else were we going to talk about because you hyped him so much? I mean, you literally had Paul Feinbaum, who's known for having some takes, say that he was the best quarterback or best player in college football since Tim Tebow. Again, did Cam Newton not exist? Like, those are the takes where I'm just like, this is why you set him up to get grilled by us because we all have these outsized, projections about what he could be when in reality, he's a quarterback who I believe has now started 3 or 4 games in his college career. And, oh, by the way, you struggled against the best defense in the country is what it is.
Well, it's time for everybody to start picking it up because I do think I've just seen a million times, Kevin, and I'm looking at Notre Dame right now. I've seen a million times where a team, a really good team, loses that first game, maybe the second one because it's they're on the road, it's a top 10 matchup, it's one of those big TV games. It's a long season. And I think Notre Dame certainly has the schedule. They have the brand. They have everything else. If they just take care of business moving forward, I think they should be okay. I don't think that loss on the road to Miami is going to kill them.
Is the brand going to help them win football games?
That's got to be more the quarterback.
Great question.
Yeah, it didn't.
So you were
play like a champion.
I was going to say the NBC influence is going to help them win some football games.
Again, I just want to point out it's a 3-point, and again, I have no dog in the fight. I can say this. It's a 3-point road loss against another top 10 team.
There's 2 glasses staring at me here in reacting from this game. The one glass of
Both
optimism.
are full of whiskey, by the way.
Well, yes, certainly.
Pass that this way.
The one glass full of optimism says top 10 team on the road in the rain, first-time starter. You were -2 in the turnover battle. Boom. That's fine. Who cares?
I'll drink to that one.
You lost by 3. The glass of empty would say, did you see the O-line and D-line? Because at Notre Dame, very much like the Colts, if your O-line and D-line aren't going to show up, then you might as well fire the jet back up and head home because you are not going to be doing another stuff otherwise to make up for that. So I guess that would be the one question that I do have for Notre Dame exiting. It's like, okay, trench play, that has got to be a non-starter. That's got to be a layup. That's got to be a guarantee for you. And you know what? Credit to Miami. I mean, obviously, they are a pretty talented bunch, and I do think a lot of people have kind of pegged them as a playoff team this season. So, again, I'm not going to go all crazy, but damn, the whole 2-week break, I'm just like, oh, gosh. And then if you lose to A&M, oh, boy. You might go 0-12.
That is the most fan comment I've heard from you. That is hilarious because I think every fan has been in that position before.
I think I know which drink he's taking. He looks a lot like Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca right now. Just throw it down and lay your head on the table.
The sky is falling.
Are there any IU fans worried about Saturday?
No.
Not at all? Fernando Mendoza look like that?
Again, I don't judge these quarterbacks after 1 week. There's a lot going, especially transfer, new system, new everything. You're out there for the first time. I don't care who it's against. I was a little concerned that, look, the defense was terrific against them. They had 2 plays that they gave up that they've got to clean up. Where they had, in one of them, they clearly had a linebacker out of position, but they gave up 2 running plays of over 70 yards to a quarterback. That can't happen. But other than that, that was all she wrote for Old Dominion. That's just those 2 plays.
Do you feel differently, Kevin, if Fernando's long touchdown pass, I forget the receiver who dropped it.
Yeah, Omar Cooper,
Yeah, if that drops in the bucket.
Yeah, for sure.
Feels a little different maybe.
I thought he had a couple throws that, and again, part of this is like, well, he's being hyped up to be a first-round pick and all. I mean, hell, we saw the mock draft had him go 1 overall. I mean, there are a couple throws that I'm like, oh, boy, those are not only bad balls, those are very interceptable balls against Old Dominion. Now, yes, Jeff, I probably am with you in like, okay, it is week 1. They kind of played with their food last year against Florida International. Yes, they really controlled so much of that. Like 27-14 is not indicative of how much IU controlled that game. And, that's where you look at Notre Dame and Miami, how much is 27-24? And welcome to week 1. I mean, this is week 1 for every sport. We're going to do it in the NFL. They're going to do segments on the national shows. Which week 1 loser do you still believe in? Which week 1 winner is a fluke to it all. That is something that we always do, and welcome to, just kind of how the sports calendar and sports cycle rolls. But again, it was a very disappointing Sunday night for myself, but I got a good hate watch in last night. because they hyped up that Belichick game. I mean, you would have thought that was a Super Bowl with all the pregame coverage on that.
Just like the fact that the hoodie just basically, as his team was all fired up and the nationally televised game and all the hoopla, they come running out of the tunnel and he just kind of does the shuffle-upicus walk over to the sideline right there, like no big deal. Did you see his pregame interview with Holly Rowe?
Oh, my gosh. I feel bad for Holly.
She tried. She's like, hey, I see you got the hoodie on, the cut-off sleeves. And he goes, yeah, that's kind of my thing. Okay, Coach, have a good game. Thanks, Holly. That was it.
I was dying laughing. I saw a picture of their post-game press conference. I mean, they got all these balloons like around the backdrop here. I mean, it looks like a graduation party for some kid, graduating from Fishers High School. Right. And here's Belichick up at the podium having to talk about the most points he's ever allowed as a head coach.
We're on to Charlotte.
It sounds just like him.
It's Charlotte's coach last year. That was the dude that wore the cutoff. His name was Biff.
Biff Poggi, yeah.
Is Biff still around?
No, he is not still there.
They played IU. Biff looked like he belonged in the tailgate fields.
Yeah, Charlotte coming off a loss to App State over the weekend. So that's what
shout out to Barry Odom and Purdue. They jumped on Ball State early. Very impressive. Now, again, week one reactions. Last year, Hudson Card looked amazing against Indiana State, and we know how the rest of that season turned out. But nonetheless, very impressive from Purdue there and controlling that game. And the guys you'd expect, Ryan Brown, Devin Mockabee, a couple big outings for them. So I thought I saw a wild stat out there. If Purdue wins this coming week, I believe, and I think they have Southern Illinois, Barry Odom will be the first Purdue coach to start his tenure 2-0 in like 100+ years.
Let's go, Boilermakers. Let's go, Boilers. Let's go. 317 Anonymous says, let's get on and talk about Barry Odom and his Boilermakers. A one-team win that sells out their stadium and takes care of business, unlike the team down south who struggled with fans and a Sunbelt team. And again, this is the perfect Purdue tweet because not only are they pumping their team up, but they always have Big Brother Indiana living in their head. Why is that? I don't understand. Purdue can be your own team. Just don't worry about that team down south.
Oh. I didn't know you were an IU alum, Jeff.
I'm
Whoa,
not. I just
so
I call it
IU's
as
the
I
Big
see
Brother to Purdue?
I don't know. All I know is every time we get a tweet about Purdue, there's some mention of Indiana in it. Like, let them go. Do your own thing.
I was about to say, let's keep it to football. Then.
I think Barry Odom is the right guy, and he's going to do good things with the Boilermakers.
Let's keep it to football.
The hardwood would be a little different there. It does amaze me how much Purdue packs that
I'm about
stadium.
to say, let's not keep it to football either, quite frankly, but continue, Kevin.
No, it amazes me how Ross 8 is packed, like, seemingly every game. I don't get it. I saw Signetti wasn't happy with the crowds and the fans exiting at halftime of the game on Saturday. So, yeah, obviously a little bit different history there from a football standpoint, but Purdue's crowd continues to show up. I mean, obviously it helps when you have Ball State. I think there was a good amount of red in there as well, but still.
I've got some good friends that are Purdue fans, so that those comments may have been aimed specifically at them. That's how that rolls right there. All right, we're off and running. It is Tuesday. It is game week for the Indianapolis Colts. We'll talk more about that. We've got our first guest coming up in the next hour as well. Looking forward to that as Joel Erickson will stop by and talk Colts and everything Colts week one as we continue on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Back to work, back to school Tuesday after the long 3-day weekend over Labor Day. Hope everybody has a great day. If you're listening in your car, go get it today. We appreciate you being along for the ride. Along with Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, I'm Jeff Rickard and Mark Dykton. And we even have a fifth man in right now as we check the Payless Liquors hotline and we find our own Joel A. Erickson of the Indy Star. Ready to talk about the 2025 NFL season? Good morning, Joel. We finally made it to game week. Are you ready to go?
I don't know. You've got more energy on Tuesday after Labor Day than most of us.
Somebody's got to have it to pick everybody up. We got to get it going here. But I would think there's more little pep in your step knowing that you got a game week to cover this week.
It is good to get to game week. It's good to get to the point where we actually have real answers to our questions. I think that's the hardest part about the last month and a half is that you wonder all these things about the Colts. And, we see the practice field, we see all that stuff, we see the preseason games, but we all know that those aren't real answers to what's going to happen with this Colts team. We start getting real answers on Sunday.
Joel, I might be too online because this is always my reaction when I see some of the craziness that arises whenever Shane Steichen talks. But yesterday on Zoom, he said about Jonathan Taylor, how he goes is how we go too as an offense. And I put that quote out there, and people just lost their minds. They're like, oh, my gosh, you just gave the game plan away. They're going to stack the box. Was the plan not to roll with JT? Like, how much of this offense do you think still will be revolved around him and the ground game?
That's one of those that's one of those things I don't fully understand either. Why would you think that Jonathan Taylor was somehow the Trojan horse on this offense?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, huh?
The Jonathan Taylor was always he ran for more than 400 yards last year. He was always going to be the engine of this offense as long as he's healthy. And Shane saying that, that's, like I said, that's kind of obvious. I think the other thing is just that, like, the game plan, and this is something that I always remember when you're watching NFL football, the game plan is much more involved than the Colts are going to run the ball. It's much more involved than whatever, the talking heads, which sometimes includes me and Kevin, on Sundays, say are the keys to the game, because it's about how they run the ball. It's about what plays they use, about what personnel grouping they use. A bunch of stuff that's super in the weeds. That's really the game plan. It's not. Yeah, everyone knew that Jonathan Taylor was probably going to get the football.
So along those lines, Joel, how do you envision this offense unfolding? Do you think they will still dial it up a few times to push the ball down the field, or is it kind of just a wait and see how Daniel Jones perhaps reacts to some of the opportunities he gets to take some shots?
I think you're going to see more of scheme shots down the field, where it's dependent on the look. It's not going to be some of the there were parts of the season last year where Anthony Richardson, I thought, probably forced it a little bit too much down the field, probably forced it down the field. Now, the flip side of that is that he forced it sometimes, and it worked out because of the arm and because of Alec Pierce and all that stuff. But I think with Daniel Jones, you're going to see more schemed up shots and probably fewer shots down the field. I think you're going to see more in that short to intermediate range. Definitely more in the short to intermediate range than him going deep down the field, because I think it's going to have to look the right way. I thought in camp that when he was successful there was when it was obvious to him at pre-snap that he should throw it, and he threw it early. And so that's the kind of stuff you need to know. You need to come to the line and know, okay, I've got Pierce one-on-one. This is when I'm going deep.
All right, Joel, as sure as your Brewers will be playing playoff baseball, give me two items. They can be a player, a position group, maybe an aspect to the team, the two surest things you feel like you know about this Colts football team going into the season in the positive development. Two of their best things that you think will be there in 2025.
Well, one of them is probably Jonathan Taylor and his sneaky run game. I think as long as he's healthy, he's really good. There's been some stuff with the contract negotiation, him dropping the ball in Denver last year, that I think has for whatever reason in the city of Indianapolis sort of made people not realize this is a guy who's got 6,000 yards through 5 seasons. That in 2025, when people don't run the ball and running backs aren't that consistent. So Jonathan Taylor's one. I think the other one is that Quentin Nelson, Bernard Ryman, left side of the line. Like that's going to be your anchor for this offense, and I think that's probably the two things that I think I'd be sure about.
How well positioned are the Colts, do you think, in light of the other 3 divisions in this seemingly lackluster AFC South? What are the chances the Colts are truly competing for a division title starting week 13, 14, 15?
Well, I mean, I don't really see it just with the quarterback situation. I don't see them necessarily competing, but in 2023, I didn't see them competing, and they ended up being right there with one pass for it. Generally, when I think they're going to compete for the division, it ends up not going that way. So that maybe that's the best evidence right there, is that I think they're not going to. I haven't been right about a Colts season since 2020, so that might be the best evidence.
Joel, when you pivot to the defensive side of the ball, how different do you think this defense will be? And perhaps how curious are you about just the secondary in general? Because, yes, the plan changed for how it was going to look, and then it changed again because of the injuries.
Yeah, I'm so interested in what we're going to see on defense starting on Sunday. I think that's maybe the to go back to where we opened, that's the pep in my step. This is I'm really interested to see what Lou Anarumo is going to do, because the personnel moves tell us that they don't really want to have linebackers on the field as much, or they don't necessarily value it. I think based on, and no offense to Joe Bocci who won the job, but I think they don't want to have a bunch of linebackers on the field, and that's why they were okay doing that. Well, being super aggressive after the cornerback position. I want to see how much they're in dime. I want to see what they do with Latu and DeForest Buckner to get them free, how they move them around. I asked Buck about a couple snaps that we saw in camp where he was rushing from a 2-point stance, and he was pretty excited about it. So being very curious, very, very curious about how Anarumo is going to attack opposing offenses. And then on top of that, what does this secondary look like? What does Mooney Ward look like when it's full competition? Because it feels like that guy is, at least from talking to him, it feels like that guy is a killer out there. So I watching this secondary is very interesting, and watching how Anarumo deploys everything is very interesting. I think it's probably going to be the hardest thing about Sunday, is trying to keep track of exactly what's going on defensively, because sometimes that stuff doesn't show up when you're kind of just watching play by play. You don't notice it as much. But I think, if DeForest Buckner's in a 2-point stance, everyone's going to see that on TV. If they're doing crazy stuff in the secondary, that's a little harder to see unless you're at the game and unless you're paying attention to the secondary.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly on the whole defensive curiosity, frankly, is kind of where I'm at heading into Sunday. All right, Joel, last one from me. Let's say Daniel Jones is a healthy month of September. Healthy, and he's not benched for whatever reason. Over under 2.5 Anthony Richardson snaps in the month of September.
This is just a wild hunch, and I'm probably wrong on it, but I feel like over. You asked the question last week to Shane Steichen about, is there a package for him? Shane kind of brushed it off, but I just think that power near the goal, in and around the goal line, in that short yardage, is something unique and maybe something they want to tap into. And yeah, maybe that's my bold prediction for the year, is that he does get some run in those short yardage situations because of how much power he has as a runner.
Now that sounds very gut feel, because I didn't get that vibe from Shane.
Yeah, it is. It is very gut feel, because Shane kind of downplayed it.
And they didn't use it last year.
They didn't use it last year with Flacco. Shane downplayed it. I just kind of feel like, I just something about his answer and everything else. it's probably like I said, the furthest out I would go in terms of gold position is that they end up using it, and that I think as much as Shane Steichen wants consistency, I think there's a piece of him that's just like what will work here, and I think at some point he gets to the point where he's like, we can run a zone read or inverted veer here and send Anthony at a linebacker, and he'll get in the end zone.
So to piggyback off that thought, Joel, who scores the first rushing touchdown at quarterback this year, Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson? And if it's Anthony Richardson in week 1, the agendas will be out, and I will think it's hilarious, honestly. Could you imagine if Daniel Jones takes them all the way down the field, they get to the 2, they put Anthony in, he scores, and then the entire week is Anthony Richardson scored a touchdown and Daniel Jones didn't? Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I think it probably ends up being Jones, because like we think of him as I think we kind of downplay him as a runner. I probably just did in my last answer, if we're being honest. But this is a guy who's run for more than 700 yards before. He can get out and move. I kind of my wild hunch there is probably leaning more towards the later weeks. So I think it's probably Daniel Jones on like a boot or a draw, or the pocket breaks down or something like that. The other question is, is the sneak back? Is the sneak back in this offense? Because it kind of went away there for a little bit. They tried to push,
good point.
And it didn't work. Is Daniel Jones back with the sneak, like on the 1? Are we going to see some sneak?
Well,
I'm interested about that.
Why have the Colts, and I think they maybe did it in Richardson's first year, why have they never tush-pushed it under Steichen?
Because, frankly, because they didn't feel like they could run it the same way the Eagles do. And I've talked to Steichen a little bit about this over the years. He's never given me like a full, like, broken down answer, which I know shocks everyone that Shane didn't tell me exactly why they can't run it. But my suspicion is that it's dependent on the offensive line being able to block in a certain way, where they get really low in Philadelphia. You have to be able to drive at a really low plane to the ground. And I get the feeling that maybe that when they've tried it in Indianapolis, they didn't necessarily have the guys in the guy in the center maybe to do that.
Well, it's a new center.
Yeah. It's a new center, and
Brand
that's
new.
and on top of that, it's a very athletic center. Like Tanner Bortolini was drafted for his athleticism. Do you bring it back this year? Is that, hey, like, is the sneak back, is the tush push back in Indianapolis? We'll try it again with a different player in the middle. Because everything I've ever read about it, it seems to me that the center, that Jason Kelsey, Cam Jurgens, that's a key to that play.
Well, it's also going to be an interesting watch
to
see.
Joel just said story for Indy Star coming up next week. Who has the better tush, Tanner Bortolini or Ryan Kelly?
I think we're just going to end it on that one right there, Kevin. I think you summed it up.
Joel, I am a subscriber to Indy Star now, so I'm looking forward to this story.
Sounds more Greg Doyle-y.
This expose.
Yeah.
I think we all know that if the tush pushes back, I am going to try to find what the secret is, and I'm going to get thwarted at every turn. But yeah, I if the tush push comes back, I think we all know that's the kind of thing that gets me up in the morning, is trying to find out why they can suddenly run it and they couldn't before.
Thanks, Joel. Always good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Have a good week.
You bet. We'll see you guys out there.
There we go. I think the last time they had really optimistic thoughts on 4th and 1 at the quarterback sneak was Jacoby Brissett, right?
Brissett was so good at it, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was like almost batting 1,000.
He was a weapon. He was so good in that area.
Just so
It's been odd. I think they did it Richardson's first game, and they kind of got blown up a couple times. But yeah, Tanner Bortolini is thought to be a little bit more of the athletic guy. Does that involve the bend and all of that, or is it the sheer power? Jason Kelsey, I believe, if I remember this correctly, I want to say Tanner Bortolini ran like the fastest shuttle at the combine since Jason Kelsey.
There you
for
go.
Center. So
Maybe.
Is it more of that? Is it more of the lower body? Your ability to whatever.
I also think the underscored success in that is just the freakishly strong lower body power of the quarterback involved as well.
And Jalen Hurts has got that, right?
Yeah, Jalen Hurts has that, and that's what Jacoby Brissett had, just an incredibly strong human being.
Joel's Brewer fandom rivals Kevin's Notre Dame fandom because I just got off the phone with Joel, and he was like, I think it's over for the Brewers. I'm like, what? What do you mean it's over? He's like, one of their relievers just popped his shoulder. It's over. I'm like, it's over? You've got a 99.9% chance of making the playoffs.
I think he's thinking World Series is what he's worried about.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I would argue. Yeah, that is a great comment. I would it might be higher, Joel's. Frankly, I mean, James, you see it. That man, when they have day baseball, he is literally asking questions in a press conference with the third inning of a 135 pitch in May on his laptop.
Yeah, and doesn't break his stride
and trying to explain it to me. And I just want to be like, Joel, you are so nice, man, but I don't care.
How was your Sunday? What was your Sunday like leading up to that game?
I don't know if I like the Sunday game anymore.
Well, it was the middle day of a 3-day weekend. It might as well have been a Saturday.
I don't like the entire day.
It's such a long
Sunday
wait.
is just a bad day.
Such a long wait.
There are other things in life to do. You got kids.
Oh, there are. Thank you, Jeff, for that reminder there. Yeah,
trying to help
it's pretty pathetic. You're waking up yesterday and just feeling what my emotional state was.
Well, at least you got a day off to recover.
Right. I know, but I knew
we are all trying.
I knew Mark was going to do something childish at the start.
Other than Mark, we are here to help you, man. We're here to support you.
Comments. Notre Dame lose to a top 10 team on the road by 3 points. Mark's acting like they lost to Northern Illinois.
Well, you know me.
I don't know.
Because I've said this already.
They already did that, by the way.
If my team wins by 1, we won by 1,000,000. It doesn't matter. I did get a kick out of the.
It's a good weekend for your ILL.
Oh yeah, we handle business. This ain't nothing. We ain't new to this. We true to this. So just get ready for a couple weeks from now.
Yeah,
the NCAA power that is Illinois football.
We've been good the last couple years. So
define good.
I will not. We've been top 15 good. So
Illinois got one of the bigger games of the weekend.
Yeah,
this coming weekend with Duke.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time. Illinois has been
don't
much better
worry.
the last few years.
I'm cool with all that. IU, we'll see you soon.
All right, Mark, let's check it down and get everybody the info they need as they head into work or school or whatever on a Tuesday morning. I just got done talking to Joel A. Erickson of the Indy Star about the upcoming game Sunday over at Lucas Oil between the Indianapolis Colts, led by Daniel Jones, and the Miami Dolphins, led by Tua Tagovailoa. What's your initial thought on this football game, or could it just be anywhere at this point in time?
They have their real quarterback this time around as opposed to last year. So
they being Miami.
Yes. So I'm very curious to see what a guy like Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle will do to the secondary or not do to the secondary. There's a lot of changes, I guess, on both sides in that regard. I mean, you got your quarterback on one side, your real quarterback, and on the other side, new scheme, new defensive coordinator. What would that look like?
Listener Andy here, Joel's conversation has me very nostalgic growing up a Bears fan. Inept front office and coaching, minimal QB talent, but high hopes for a good season.
Mark?
It's like staring in a mirror, basically. I've seen this story before.
I honestly don't know what to expect. New defensive coordinator, a lot of new talent on defense, a new quarterback in Daniel Jones. Still got Jonathan Taylor, a rebuilt offensive line for half of it. I'm very curious to see how this is all going to play out, Kevin Bowen. And I think it's one of those, when it comes to the FanDuel app, I'm probably staying away from this one right out of the gate.
Colts are a slight favorite, correct?
Yeah, 1.5-point favorites right now.
Yeah, I mean, right now I think Vegas has both of these teams over-unders at 7.5. So, yeah, this is, I'll beat this into the ground over the next 4 days. I think it is one of the top probably 3 or 4 biggest games the entire Colts season. Not because it's week 1, you need to get off to a good start. You haven't won a season over since 2013. It is a team that if you're going to flirt with a wild card, you're going to be probably right there with them. They were right there with you last year at the end of the season. So was Denver, who ironically you play in week 2. So, Miami's got a lot of issues right now that I don't think the Colts have. The Colts are in a much better health situation. I know this might sound odd. Miami had one of their coaches arrested over the weekend for domestic violence. So, there is a lot going on with the Dolphins operation. Tyreek Hill and Tua are where? Tyreek hadn't practiced in about 3 weeks. Devin A-Chain, their stud running back, hasn't practiced a whole lot in August either. So I think there are some reasons why the Colts, A, are favored, and B, should have some optimism.
All right, let's move on to college football over the weekend. Purdue with a nice home win, and the Barry Odom era is off and running. 31-0. Ryan Brown, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns. He ran for another. Indiana got a win at home over Old Dominion, 27-14. In that one, Fernando Mendoza, 18-31, 193 yards. They gave up 2 big plays in the game, but Jonathan Brady had a 91-yard punt return to end the first quarter. And all in all, pretty solid, not spectacular, I would think, Kevin, for Indiana in that first game.
Yeah, goal to go offense, big issue. They were pathetic inside of the 10. And then, those 2 big zone reads there by the Old Dominion quarterback. Mendoza, I like for a little bit more of a crispy effort when he's throwing the football. Granted, first start, new receivers, et cetera, et cetera. Cooper dropped the big one, but I thought he's a little errant, little erratic for a guy that, many peg as a first-round pick.
Miami, number 10, over Notre Dame, 27-24. They win at home. It was a Sunday night game. I won't even bother Kevin with this one. Did you have a chance to watch much of that one, James?
Yes, I watched it thinking of Kevin Bowen the entire time. I was thinking he's going to be hungover Monday because he celebrated too much. He's going to be hungover Monday because he's sad. And
I think you called me out last week when I wore the Tito's hat on the first day of the week. You were like, that's not a good omen for the Irish.
It was not. It was not. So the convicts get that down to the convicts versus Catholics.
All right. Meanwhile, the Indiana
we
Fever.
need more convicts on our team.
That's where Kevin is now. Just go open up the prisons. Let's go. Over the weekend, the Valkyrie with a season sweep of the Indiana Fever. They win yesterday 75-63. Kelsey Mitchell had 14 points in that one. Natasha Howard had 13. I guess this is on Sunday, not Monday. They are now tied at 11 games out between 7th and 8th spot with the Valkyrie. 1.5 games up on the with Seattle. 1.5 games up on the LA Sparks, who are in the 9th spot looking in at this point in time. The Fever play tonight, 10 p.m., 9:45, the Fan pregame show with Eddie Garrison right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Major League Baseball, Cubs are making their move again, Mark Dykton. You're back on the upswing.
Well, we'll see. They gained a game on the Brewers yesterday, but they also didn't sweep the Rockies like they could have. They could have been up 2 games. Instead, they'll take 1.
Cubs beat the Braves by a score of 7-6 yesterday. It was the Reds over the Toronto Blue Jays 5-4. I'm not giving up yet, Kevin Bowen.
God, why not?
Not yet.
I'm about to say
yet.
you should.
You
What is there to believe in?
The Reds are dead.
Until they are eliminated entirely, I'm a believer.
They've got a 4% chance of making the playoffs.
I was going to say, are you one of those, it has to be mathematically impossible?
Yes.
14.5 back. They're 70-68.
Yeah, Mark, don't even say the Central. Just say the wild card.
Yeah, there's no chance. 0 chance.
I think they're
4.6% chance of making it.
Don't they have the Mets coming up? Do they? That's their only chance.
All right. Y'all are going to be thanking me when I'm the one that stayed the course.
Oh, no. I will not be thanking you. We can revisit this in a couple of weeks.
All right. Athletics beat the Cardinals by a score of 11-3. It was the White Sox over the Minnesota Twins 6-5. The Indianapolis Indians were off last night. They start a road trip tonight in Columbus. That one begins at 6:15. Auto racing, Joseph Newgarden wins in Nashville to conclude the 2025 NTT IndyCar Series. Obviously, Alex Palou gets the series win. And in NASCAR yesterday, we had Chase Briscoe winning at Darlington in the Cookout Southern 500. You ever had a burger from the Cookout?
Oh,
it's good stuff.
No.
The Cookout is extraordinary.
Where is this?
In the South, throughout
Kentucky
the South mostly.
And everything like that. Yeah, the Cookout is it's open till 5 in the morning. It's exceptional.
Yeah, it's good every
You
time.
sold me right there.
Yeah,
Sounds like what I needed after the Notre Dame Miami game.
When I was in Carolina, every time you drive by a Cookout on Saturday evening, it's 10:30 at night, and the cars are just wrapped around the block.
A shout out to Chase Briscoe, Indiana's own, and I believe Jake Query teased this coming up at noon today. He's got some IndyCar news to drop, so I think he was curious if it would leak out here in silly season, as they call it, with the musical chairs that takes place. So we'll see what the futures hold for Will Power and David Malukas and maybe Alex Palou and whoever else.
All right, well, keep an eye on that. Jake Query comes your way from noon to 3, JMV 3 to 6, of course, as he'll get you ready for the Colts' upcoming game to start the 2025 season. Coming up for us in a moment. Are you guys ready to bring the GOATs back now that it's football season? All right, go to the week. Comes your way next.
Never left. It's
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. I like it. Sounds like club fan morning show here on a Tuesday morning. I'm here for it.
Well, these lyrics are filthy in this song.
I don't think I've listened to the lyrics all the way through.
I wouldn't. Well, earmuffs for the children.
Right. Is this like the clean radio edit version? Or?
Uh-huh. No, the video's even, yeah. Girl's like, can we watch that? I'm like, hell no, get out of the room.
Go back to Bluey. Let's watch Bluey again.
Get out of the room. Sabrina Carpenter's on.
It's a fan morning show with Mark Dykton on the ones and twos, spinning the hits today.
No more coffee needed for Mark Dykton. He's ready to go after watching that video.
James Boyd, Kevin Bowen, Jeff Rickard with you, and it's time to get back football season. We are back in gear ourselves. It is time for the GOATs of the week.
Who is the GOAT?
I told you all that I was the greatest of all time.
Jordan, here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good!
That's what I'm talking about. That's why he's MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
Or GOAT?
This guy sucks.
Of the week.
All right, we're off and running in the 2025 NFL season. GOAT of the week may or may not have anything to do with the NFL, but Kevin Bowen, who's up first for your GOATs of the week on the positive side? Who gets it?
Yeah, I got to go to the old coach. Final time on College game day. I thought not only is Lee Corso an absolute GOAT, but the whole celebration of him by ESPN. And I thought, kind of I know it might be a little media nerdy, but I thought it was cool. Like Fox aired Corso's final headgear pick on Big Noon Kickoff as well, and in a very fitting way to end it. And yes, my Irish were unfortunately a part of it. He was perfect on all of the picks that involved his former teams. He was the only one that picked Florida State. And yes, he did pick Miami to beat Notre Dame. So I thought it was just awesome celebration for him. And really, really cool to see ESPN do that, and I think in a really, really respectful way.
Yeah, I thought the whole thing was fantastic, and I think we could have all said that Lee Corso's the GOAT of the week, and I back you 100%. I'm going to go with just underneath Lee Corso, Ryan Brown and Barry Odom both had a tremendous debut for Purdue. I know it was a win over Ball State.
It wasn't that great last year. Trying to win the Purdue fans back after calling them little brother?
Yeah,
no, but I mean,
that's what it sounds like.
Locally, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for another. He did what he's supposed to do. Purdue beat, like they were supposed to beat Ball State. Barry Odom wanted to get off to a good start. Ryan Brown wanted to get off to a good start. I thought it went about as well as you could have expected for Purdue this past weekend, and I want to give him some credit for that. James Boyd?
My GOAT of the week, because I love trash talk. Florida State quarterback Tommy Castellanos. I love that he talked trash and basically said, Nick Saban will not save you. Said that in the preseason, went out there and spanked Alabama, and they are no longer Alabama, at least the Alabama I knew growing up. That team is sweet. I watched the tape a little bit, watched the highlights, watched the game as well, and it looks like they're soft. And I never thought I would say that about an Alabama football team. They are soft.
Yeah, people are Googling Kalen DeBoer's, buyout.
Yeah.
60-something million. You imagine? Doesn't make it to end of year 2 after taking over Nick Saban.
Alabama's the one place that might consider that buyout.
Unbelievable.
They were two touchdown favorite and got smoked by Florida State.
Oh, good weekend for the ACC too, by the way. Mark, who you have for your GOAT of the week?
So WWE had their Clash in Paris premium live event over the weekend. That crowd was absolutely incredible. Paris crowd quickly becoming one of the best in pro wrestling. They were chanting theme songs in full American lyrics, like at full throat, multiple times. Their outstanding pay-per-view was also very good. Our guy Bronson Reed came up short against Roman Reigns, unfortunately, but a very good pay-per-view overall. So solid weekend out in Paris.
All right, in honor of our fantasy football draft coming up tomorrow, we'll go snake style today. Who's your GOAT of the week?
Me, because college football is back, which means my horrible betting has returned. I think I went 0-8 over the weekend.
The anti-Lee Corso?
Good Lord.
My hot trash bets are back in full throw. I'm like, hey, college football is back because my bank account is empty.
Already? Week one,
not empty,
it's gone.
You know what I mean.
Wow.
Not good.
You and Ashley need to have a discussion later on tonight?
Well, she doesn't know.
Hey,
Yeah.
Mark, the best thing about it is there's games Thursday, there's games Friday, there's games Saturday.
You can always bounce back,
That's
brother.
right.
You can win a lot.
James Boyd?
I alluded to mine earlier. Paul Feinbaum, you look like a guy who has never watched college football before, saying that Arch Manning was the best player in college football since Tim Tebow. And I would like to know what he might have had before he said something like that on air, because that was just ridiculous, not true, and unfair to Arch Manning, who struggled in his, first real big start in college.
Paul Feinbaum has been that kind of goat for me for
just like
every week.
I enjoy it. It is entertainment. I think he's a funny,
he's entertaining
part of the college football world and landscape. So I don't want him to go away. I just think that he sets himself up for these types of takes, and I got to respond.
I think it's a little bit like Skip Bayless, too, where he goes out of his way to try to say something that's either going to be unbelievably great or absolutely ridiculous.
There you go.
Yeah, I think he's a big fan of that type of show. Did you guys – I know I'm maybe the outlier. I watched a lot of U.S. Open. Did you see the millionaire CEO that snatched a hat right out of the hands of a little kid that was taking it from one of the players over the weekend?
No.
I did see that. That was
this guy named Peter Sherrick. He's a European. He's CEO of this
U.S.
big,
Open
impressive,
tennis,
yes,
correct?
Big at the U.S. Open. So Kamil Majchuk wins his match, and he goes over and he's signing stuff near the front row. And there's a little kid there, maybe 10, 11 years old, and he has a hat, the hat that he's been wearing. Mm-hmm. He takes the hat off, signs it, hands it specifically in the direction of the little kid. This guy comes swooping in and grabs it out of the hand of the little kid and takes off with it. And then he doubles down after getting all kinds of online criticism. He doubles down with a statement on social media saying, hey, first come, first serve. This is how it goes.
Oh, my.
Not contrite at all.
I respect it. If you're going, look, if it's, don't switch up. After you do something like that, you stand on that.
You stand on taking stuff away from a little kid?
I'm watching this. This video is horrible.
Someone needs to get that guy to a Coldplay concert and get him some bad PR.
Man,
even worse than
come out on center corner.
And then he's like, "Oh, I'm watching the video now. My goodness."
You have to come out to Arthur Ashe and take a tennis ball to the you-know-what from one of those serves.
And then he drops it in some lady's bag, and she just he must be with her.
His wife's bag.
All right, both of them need to be handled.
Kevin Bowen will let you finish it off here for the goat of the week.
My goat of the week would be one Chapel Bill. Absolutely
Save
epic
that for you.
Watching Chapel Bill's squad last night get their you-know-what handed to them by the TCU Horned Frogs. The most points allowed in Bill Belichick's rich head coaching history. I loved it. Just made me smile. I flipped it back on there late in the game. And to summarize the entire story, Kirk Herbstreit's dog was wearing the headset. That's when you know ESPN's run out of things to try and keep the entertainment level going there. 48-14, the final score there. That's on their home field, by the way. Chapel Bill, welcome to college football.
You got to think that crowd paid a pretty penny to get in there, too, and those stands were emptying quick.
Yep.
This video is so funny. I'm still watching it. How do you... I'm torn, because part of me is kid, you got to learn about how life works. It ain't fair, but man, that is some aggressive. Can you call that fandom? What is that?
I don't think I could say it on air with it.
Well, yeah, that's fair. Also, shout out to we get extra goat of the week, the kicker from the Ohio State student, first kick of the year.
Yes,
on College Game Day.
$250,000, right?
Yeah, I think he might have pulled a little, he might have tricked them, because, they try to find these kids who never kicked before, and he's like, I don't really kick. I kick with my brother, and it's like, I saw that kick, and I'm like, oh, yeah, you kick. That man was on the money, straight down the middle. $250,000. Nice little chunk of change.
Man, you talk about setting yourself up right out of college, right?
Man.
Pay off any debts you might have, and maybe even have a little bit left. What do you think he gets, though, after taxes? Like 130, 140?
Whatever it is, it doesn't matter.
I'll take it.
Do you think that is one of the greatest days of his life? It has to be.
Yes.
Oh, my, easily.
It's got to be right there.
And
on national
television. And you won the game. The team won the game. You're big man on campus. Pat McAfee knows who you are. Life is great.
People are standing by him next to the bars being like, hey, buddy, I've really wanted to get to know you.
Every girl he ever wanted to talk to, they know his name now.
He may show up on a random off day Tuesday at some NFL franchise at some point in time, because he drilled that thing, man. All right, those are your goats of the week. Week 1 of the NFL season coming up. We'll start talking about that a little bit. The Colts have the Miami Dolphins. We'll take a look at some of the other teams in the AFC South. And Your publication, The Athletic, I know you don't have anything to do with this, but they do not like this version of the Indianapolis Colts. And I'll tell you all about it next as we continue 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Always curious to see how things are looking from the outside in. What are people outside of Indianapolis thinking about the Colts or the teams that we have around here? It's always fascinating to me. The first poll, The Athletic, every week they kind of rank all of the NFL teams. So it's not really a poll. They just rank them. I'm not sure do you know who's in charge of that, James, over there at The Athletic, of doing that?
No, I'm not.
I have to look and see. Whoever's doing it doesn't like the Indianapolis Colts very much. Going into week 1, Kevin Bowen, they rank the Indianapolis Colts 28th. They say Daniel Jones beat out Anthony Richardson for the starting quarterback job during training camp, leading to 2 questions. Was that Richardson's last shot with the Colts? And is everybody in Indianapolis getting fired this season? Maybe Jones and Richardson will both have Baker Mayfield-type paths where finding the right home revitalizes their career. Or maybe it'll just be a huge mess. But they don't like the quarterback situation at all. They don't like the Colts. 28th out of 32. They've got them ranked right now.
Boy, I just can't see it bottoming out to that level. I'd be really, really surprised. It's kind of wild when you look at I've looked at it from more of a betting point of view of like kind of where the Colts are at right now. And Vegas has playoff teams as this. AFC, Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati, Denver, Pittsburgh. So there's your top 6. They go for 7th in that area. Or excuse me, did I say the Chargers? The Chargers too. Those would be your top 7.
Mm-hmm.
They have Jacksonville and New England, both above Indy and Miami. And Miami and Indy have the same exact odds. So it's a little less than a 50% chance to make the playoffs for the Colts and Dolphins. So, that's what, Sunday holds. It weirdly is it's a battle of 2 franchises. I should probably say 2 ownerships that have accepted a lot of mediocrity from their respective GMs. Chris Greer has been at the job for 1 year longer than Chris Ballard in Miami, has made the playoffs 1 additional time, 3 playoff appearances for him. But as James pointed out earlier in the show, I mean, the playoff win drought is like 23 years. So I think the last time they won a playoff game was they beat the Colts in 2000. So, yeah, Sunday, 1 o'clock, battle of mediocrity, Colts and Dolphins here coming up at 1 o'clock.
Well, get out of mediocrity and start off 1-0. Have the leg up. Let's go. I still think those first couple of games, the Denver game, to me, these 2 games, Miami and Denver, and you got to take care of Miami first. But, man, as I've said repeatedly, James, those are the 2 teams you really were in a battle with for that last playoff spot a year ago. And I know you've changed the quarterback and you've revamped the defense and you brought in a new defensive coordinator. And I think these first 3 games, if they can go 2-1, either way, these first 3 games tell you a lot about what this team can do, I think, in 2025.
Absolutely. I'm looking at it. I think Denver is going to be a loss just because I trust the Broncos defense and what Sean Payton and his crew usually do to quarterbacks who are not very good. But, yeah, that first game is the big one. You want to start off on a high note. You want to start off not being behind the 8 ball. And I know people get sick of hearing about the streak, but as I've told you before, my hot take is if you lose the season opener, you're not making the playoffs. So do something different. I think that is what a lot of Colts fans would like to see is differences. Win down in Jacksonville this year. Win the season opener. Do things you haven't done. Now, obviously, that way you can get a result you haven't had in a few years, which is making the playoffs ultimately.
Yeah, and, when you're out and about in town and you're talking to people and they come up and they're talking about the Colts, and what do you think here? You're talking to people
them,
out
hey,
at Grand Park.
I ain't on the clock right now, brother. Get out my face.
Of course you do. But the general feeling I get right now is
like Bradley Cooper in Hangover walking out of school and just telling kids doesn't even know who they are.
That's exactly what it is. But Kevin, I get the sense that the average Colts fan is they want to be optimistic, but they're still somewhat kind of apathetic. Like they just don't know what to think about this team anymore. Like show me, to James' point, show me something different.
Well, I put out a poll on our account, and I said on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about the upcoming Colts season? I said 1 to 3, not at all, / lukewarm. 4 to 6, somewhat. 7 to 9, optimistic / excited. 10, for the effing shoe. And 43.6% say 1 to 3, not at all / lukewarm. Followed by 4 to 6, somewhat, 35.3%.
Jeez. So close to 4 out of 5 Colts fans are like, eh.
Which, I mean, I think I mean, James, I know it's the eyeball test, but you even talk to some people. The crowds at Grand Park, I don't think were anywhere near the level that they're used to.
No.
Up there. I think I mentioned to you guys last week, I'd heard that the preseason TV ratings weren't very good either for the Colts compared to, past years. So, those are very, recent and, hard data that you could point to indicate that. And I do think the general apathy is just a little bit more there. Now, we all love winners and we can gravitate towards one pretty quickly. So if you are able to show signs of life of, oh my gosh, do they have a winning month of September? I mean, if you look at the September slate, even into the first couple weeks of October, there's a good chance the Colts are favored in, I don't know, 3 of the first 5, 4 of the first 6. There is definitely an opportunity here to do something different. And I do think defensively they're going to be different. And offensively, we'll see how much those weapons can help them. But I think big picture is just where people are so lethargic on it right now. It's like, oh, man, is it really a ninth year for Chris Ballard? That I think is just what are you running in circles a little bit here? And, how will Carly Ursay-Gordon view this season? Is it simply a clean slate for Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen? Or does she look at past evidence for them and judge them on that? Are they tied together at the hip?
Mm-hmm.
Are they tied with Anthony Richardson or no? Have they got another quarterback choice at it, and that quarterback choice is Daniel Jones? I think all those are some definite unknowns.
I also get the sense that with Carly Ursay, Gordon, that the business has as much to do with it as everything. If this apathy continues and the crowds, and they'll know better than we do, we're a little bit less than normal up at Grand Park, and people are not buying the tickets that are available every week, and people who do have tickets aren't showing up towards the end of the season. To me, brand new owner looking at just the bottom line, in addition to all that history that you just talked about, to me that could very well be the difference.
I think that will bother her maybe more than it bothered her father, I guess. And not that Jim had a lot of that, to be fair, especially late, in his whatever, pretty much once they drafted Peyton, that was not too much of a worry at all. But, when you watch what the Pacers run did to ignite the city, ignite fans, even the Caitlin Clark draft pick, right now it's not just the NFL's the absolute slam dunk, I think, in this market in terms of what people want to talk about, what people enjoyed watching. I think the Pacers really created, for the first time in a while, really created a lot of the, hey, this is unbelievable, and I forgot how much I love this, and look at this run, and this team is so likable, and, they checked, again, a lot of the kind of the collegiate aspects that you like about college sports that you don't necessarily get with pro sports, whereas the Colts, you just feel like they're stuck in mud. So I do think, Jeff, to your point, that Carly Ursay will look at the dollars and cents and be like, wait, how long since we've had a home playoff game? What does that do to our bottom line?
Mm-hmm.
What would 65,000 inside of Lucas Oil Stadium do from a playoff sense standpoint? What would a standalone game with all eyeballs on us on a Saturday or a Sunday or a Monday come playoff time do? That obviously has been missing from this franchise.
What do you think their thoughts on ownership would be if it's like last season where opposing teams' fan bases kind of took over the stadium?
Yeah.
If it happens again, especially when you don't have those marquee names like you did last year with the Steelers, Bears, Lions. Like, you have a couple on there, but not nearly to the degree you had last year. If they have a second season of just opposing teams just, like, flooding the home stadium.
I would hope and I would think it would be bothersome. But, Mark, to your point, there's not as many of those obvious teams. Last year, what was it? Was it Bears, Bills, Steelers?
Lions. Lions took over big time at that
right. Like, this year, I don't see those fan bases just lining up. But
if they do, that's even more damning then, I would say.
Then it's even worse.
We'll keep an eye on it all season long, and we'll get ready to go for Week 1 against the Miami Dolphins coming up over the next couple of days. And coming up in the next hour as well, we'll get an insight from a man who covers the NFL for a living, also happens to live in Miami. We'll tell you all about that next as we continue at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. For all of you great football fans out there, and I'm assuming if you're listening to this program, there are many, you've made it through the long, dark season, and we are ready to go for week one in the NFL. We had a terrific week one in college football, mostly, Kevin. I don't want to overstate it for you right there, but we are on to the Miami Dolphins.
Was that needed?
Dang.
We're on to the Miami Dolphins, in the words of another great notable. And it is week one in the NFL, and we are happy to be joined by Cameron Wolf, who works at NFL Network, but also makes his residence in Miami and might be able to give us some insight on what the Dolphins have coming up this year. Good morning, Cameron. Welcome into week one. Oh, he dropped off the phone. We'll get him right back here.
I was going to say.
Heard that slight against Notre Dame. He's like, I'm out.
I don't blame him.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he's a University of Houston alum. I think we've talked to him about that.
By the way,
so we'll get him back on the line.
The TCU football Twitter account is one of the greatest scrolls you will ever see.
Yeah, they
this
took
morning.
some victory laps.
They are just dunking.
What's your favorite
on
so
Chapel, Bill, and North Carolina? This is unbelievable. I'll save a few of these for after Cameron Wolf. These are excellent.
All right, we have Cameron Wolf back on now, and we are pleased to be joined by him from the NFL Network. Cameron, week one, ready to go. We're worried about the Colts and the Dolphins. How worried should we be, my friend? And good morning, and thanks for being here.
Hey, good morning. How are you guys doing today?
We're hanging in there.
Yeah, my initial thought is this is the battle of uncertain teams. I think the Colts are similar to the Dolphins in that expectations are a little bit down, and there's a little concern of hey, what happens if it all blows up? And so I think there is a hope from the Colts' perspective is, can Daniel Jones bring that stability that they haven't had at that quarterback position, at least early on in the season? So I think for me, it's can the Colts offense show a ability to move the ball without turning the ball over and taking those sacks that can derail the drive? For the Dolphins, they have a really young secondary, inexperienced, so they're going to have to lean on their pass rush to try to get home and have an impact on Daniel Jones.
Cam, I know you've been all over the Anthony Richardson beat, so to speak, ever since he's been drafted here to Indianapolis. Yep. And so from your perspective, how have you seen things unfold? And are you surprised at all that it's been perhaps as rocky as it's been the first two seasons going into the third?
Yeah, I am a little surprised. I mean, health is obviously a huge part of it. You can't impact the club if you're not out there on the field. And this year he had that injury that set him back. But I am a little surprised on how it evolved with him not being a starter at this point. You draft a quarterback who, probably the rawest quarterback prospect in recent memory, and he essentially gets one season of game action before he gets benched essentially permanently for now. I know the team is saying that he has a chance to play again, but you make a move like this, you're essentially saying, hey, this guy's not our future, at least for right now. So I definitely am surprised. I thought, development, especially with Shane Steichen, that's the reason why you draft him. You trust your head coach and your development system to get the best out of him, to help him become the pro quarterback you want him to be. So I just definitely think whether it's Anthony Richardson, Shane Steichen, the team, they failed in the mission so far. And right now that's a part of the reason they're in this precarious spot.
Cameron, one more on the Richardson front for me when it comes to maybe his team and I guess a potential trade request. It doesn't sound like they've gone there yet. I know Stephen Holder had some reporting a couple weeks ago that they weren't happy with, obviously, him not winning the job, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You think they'll just kind of ride this out throughout the season, obviously see if he gets a chance at some point in 2025, and then kind of maybe rethink their plan of actions, I guess, if you will, after the end of the season? Or how do you kind of view it playing out from the Richardson side of it?
Yeah, good question. No trade request. They talked about it a lot, but they decided that wasn't the route they wanted to go. Ant said he didn't want to be in a place where he was running from competition. And so that's sort of the route they're going. And look, the reality of the situation, you can't hide from the fact that, there's a little pressure on Shane Steichen. There's a little pressure on Chris Ballard. Sometimes you make short-term decision-making to help yourself in the current position. And I think that may have been some of the frustration for Man's team is that, I thought you were all in on developing us, and they chose the route that they felt like would help them from week one, which is understandable. I get it. If they thought Daniel Jones gave them the better chance to win week one. That's why they went to it. But the reality is they still don't have a long-term quarterback answer. Daniel Jones struggled immensely in New York, and unless he has a dramatic turnaround, they may be looking again next year to find a quarterback. So I think Anthony Richardson and his team are going to wait it out. You know, we've seen quarterbacks get second chances, and my guess is he's somewhere else in 2026 trying to take advantage of that second chance.
Kind of shifting gears, and again, Cameron Wolf joins us here from NFL Network. You mentioned there's some pressure, obviously, on Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen. From afar, it would seem like there is similar pressure on Chris Greer, Mike McDaniel. It's kind of eerie how, you know, really both the GM and the head coach situations are kind of similar. Length of time, you know, amount of playoff appearances, et cetera, et cetera. How would you kind of describe the vibe with the Dolphins heading into 2025 after they did miss the playoffs last season?
Yeah, you hit it on the money. They feel the pressure too, and Chris Greer has been there a long period of time as a general manager. He's been there through, you know, 3 different coaching regimes in charge. So like you said, the similarities to Chris Ballard. I think the thing for Miami is they've gone all in the last few off seasons. You know, they've traded for Tyreek Hill and Teron Armstead and paid, you know, and Jalen Ramsey and paid all of those guys, paid Mike McDaniel extension already. So, you know, ownership's looking around and saying, hey, we still don't have a playoff win. We haven't won a playoff game in 25 years. What am I paying for? And so I think there definitely is some urgency of showing returns on those investments. And so, yes, I think for this offseason in particular, they reset and got rid of some of those guys. They think some addition by subtraction with guys like Jalen Ramsey and others will help the culture reset, because their knock was they can score a lot of points, but they're not tough enough. They don't have the accountability and discipline to help them through December and January. So they want to come out of week one and show they're a different team than we've seen so far this year. But like anything, it's a prove-it stage. You can say all you want all offseason, and we'll see week one what team they are.
Cameron Wolf, NFL Network, joining us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline this morning. Colts start their season with the Miami Dolphins coming up on Sunday. Throughout the rest of the AFC, I guess more specifically for the AFC South, how do you think the Colts are positioned in what could be a volatile division this year?
Yeah, it's wide open, right? Like Houston's the team to beat. You know, you got to beat the king to be the king, and they've been that spot. But there's uncertainty there at just about every position outside of quarterback. I think C.J. Stroud will have a bounce-back year. You know, new offense coordinator, he has more control at the line of scrimmage than he had previously. He's kind of switching from that Shanahan system to something that has him a little bit more pure progression. But offensive line was a big question mark last year, still is. They have a really good defense, but they have some inexperience at some key spots. So if I was handicapping it, I'd still say the Texans should be the favorite in that division. But would I be shocked if Indy got hot and made a run? Would I be shocked if, you know, a Jacksonville with a new head coach made a run? No. I think Tennessee's probably a year or two away, but I think Indy or Jacksonville, if they made the right spot, could make a run and, you know, maybe win the division with 9 or 10 wins.
Cameron, I will pivot to this. Tyreek Hill, not a team captain for the first time in his Dolphins career.
Yeah.
What are the vibes like around him, especially considering some of the comments he's made throughout the offseason and the fact that he still will be and should be a big part of what they're trying to do?
Yeah, it's an odd offseason, I would describe the vibes are, because you got a guy who essentially quit on his team last year in the season, week 18, saying I'm out in the middle of a game. Then he walked it back, apologized, and he's really spent most of the offseason trying to prove to his teammates he's going to be different. But you hear your quarterback, and we talk to him all offseason, say, hey, look, we got to rebuild this relationship. Trust doesn't just come with the, oh, my bad, bro. And so I think there is definitely a lot of still tension there. You know, when you talk about a culture change, but one of the guys who was a part of the bad culture is still there, that's the question. Like, how do you reconcile that? But I'll tell you this, he has been good on the field when he's out there, talking to people in the building. They've talked about how locked in he is. And I think there's a belief that he's going to have one of the best years of his career. And I think everybody's just hoping that none of the off the field, none of the blow-ups can derail that. So I think that he said earlier this offseason he did not expect to be a captain because of all his actions. And, you know, the team chose that way. So he brings the energy. He's the loud guy on the field. Tagovailoa, and I think unquestionably this is his team, maybe for the first time in his career.
When you look at Tua, obviously we know some of the health challenges he's had. Is that something that is, I don't want to say top of mind, but is that a conversation they have to always kind of have in Miami? Is will he be available? I know he wants to be out there, but ultimately the last few years and throughout his career, it's become, unfortunately, like a yearly topic is, can Tua make it through a season?
Yeah, James, it is top of mind. Like that's the reality. Like this team is going nowhere without him as a starting quarterback. And I've watched them all through the offseason. The backup quarterback situation is not one they can survive long periods of time with that. So it's interesting because Tua went through multiple changes the last few off seasons. 2023 he had his best season. He stayed healthy all year, and they wanted to take it to the next step. So he lost a lot of weight. They said he was going to be more mobile, trying to extend plays, and then he got hurt. Then he lost 6 games. He had a concussion, and I think he's going to revert back to where he was in 2023, where you're going to see him be a pocket passer and nothing more, not really use those legs, throw the ball away, and get the ball out of his hands quickly. And so I don't think he loves that style. I don't think he loves being the face of concussions or injuries in NFL. But that's his reality right now. And I think for him to succeed, he's got to be smarter in his decision-making, knowing when to slide, knowing when to throw the ball away. And he said he's going to make those decisions this year. But obviously he's got to prove it just like Tyreek does on the field because, if this season ends up with another serious Tua injury, I just can't imagine that they run this same group back in 2026.
Cameron Wolf, before we let you go, I know you've covered the NFL for a long time, and I know you love football at all levels. Thoughts on Bill Belichick's college football debut at North Carolina last night?
Wow. Man, they got boat raced. I mean, it's not really another way to put it. I just think that there's probably some angst in the college community based on how Bill Belichick runs things. From what stories I've heard, he's running it kind of like how he ran the Patriots, and not necessarily something that everybody in college football loves. And so I think there was some joy from other teams and other people in the ACC to see how bad it went. But I think it's still early. I think, he scored that first touchdown, and I had buddies in there talking about North Carolina's going to win the college football playoff. And then, afterwards it's like, hey, is Bill Belichick going to get fired? I think it's somewhere in the middle. He's starting off with a new team. He's got to recruit. He's got to get that right quarterback. So I think ultimately he'll be okay, but I think it was a wake-up call that just because your name's Bill Belichick doesn't mean you're going to be able to run another brand of football.
Yeah.
Cameron, I do want to ask one last one before we let you go. Is Tyreek going to give you any more workout shout-outs? Because I see you in the gym, brother. I'm about to say they need some extra players, practice squad.
Yeah. I'll tell you this: I got no plays left, like none. Maybe I play 30 yards deep as a safety. I'm playing bail coverage. I'm not involved in the box at all. So my hit workouts are a lot different than football shape. But I appreciate the noticing. I told Tyreek I'll take him. I'll take him in a bench press competition, but don't try to race me, dog. I got no
Fair enough.
All right. Cam, we'll let you go. Thanks for joining us on a Tuesday. Have fun all season long. We'll talk to you again soon in the middle of the year. Thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your show.
You too. There he is, Cameron Wolf, NFL Network. Always pleasant to talk to him and fun to get his insights on things. But, yeah. That's where we're at. You got the Dolphins and Colts coming up. More and more worried about how we can get some excitement around the Riders going on there. Let's go.
Yeah, but you know what? One of my biggest takeaways from what Cameron just told us, Kevin, was him saying he expects AR to be on a different team in 2026. So that was something to kind of keep in mind. And again, he is close to their camp, Cameron Wolf. He stayed in touch with AR's agent. So obviously that's not like a foreshadowing, reporting, but just his notion and what he thinks. And so I'm very curious to see how it all plays out. If indeed Anthony does not become the true QB1, I think he'll play again this year just because we'll look this up last week. There were 59 different starting quarterbacks last year for 32 teams. So obviously you're going to get a chance most likely. But as we've talked about, will it be a real chance to be the guy or are you just filling in for a game or two? So curious to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of evidence to kind of go with what Cameron's thinking. Things are going to have to change. I'll throw the question to you, James, that I threw to Joel Erickson back about an hour ago. Let's say Daniel Jones is healthy for the month of September. Let's say that he's playing football to where he's not benched. Over under 2.5 snaps played for Anthony Richardson, i.e., do you think there will be an Anthony Richardson short yardage package within the first month of the season?
No, I'm going under. Mainly because they didn't use it last year when they could have. And I think once you do that, you do open the door to all of the questions about quarterback and who's playing, who's starting, and things like that. Now, obviously, in a vacuum standpoint, yes, if you're at the goal line, I probably trust Anthony Richardson to get in there if he's the ball carrier over Daniel Jones, just because he's kind of been used as a battering ram throughout his career. And we've seen AR, especially last year, have some advantages there. But ultimately, if they feel like they can still run a competent offense, then they probably think that they can get in regardless. So I just don't see that happening.
North Carolina football tweets out, excited to showcase our program this fall on Hulu. More information to come. That was on August 24th. TCU's football program retweets early this morning. When does episode 1 come out? This one here, Deadspin tweeted yesterday morning, Babe, wake up. Bill Belichick coaches college football today. Picture of Bill. TCU football retweets it. Babe, go back to sleep.
Did he go home and talk to Jordan and say we're on to Tuesday? I mean, how did that conversation go at home last night?
One of my favorite ones last night, I think it was College Football Reddit tweeted score starting to look like the age gap.
Not tonight, Jordan. I'm tired.
That might be my favorite troll right there.
Give that to us one more time, Mark.
Not tonight, Jordan. Tired. He's going to look at the film.
Oh, Lord.
Go on to Charlotte.
You do sound like him.
The last time North Carolina lost a non-conference game by 27 or more, Bill Belichick's girlfriend was in middle school.
Did you see at the beginning of the game,
Granted,
too?
that's not that long ago when you think about it.
I was about to say.
11 years for those counting at home.
Did you ever get recess today?
The hype, though. I mean, did you see who was at that game pre-kickoff?
Oh, my gosh.
They had Michael Jordan there. Everybody.
I didn't realize they were doing the full, half NFL countdown, half college game day crew.
6 guys on that panel.
And the night ended with Peter Herbstreit putting on a headset. For those unfamiliar with who Peter Herbstreit is, that's Kirk Herbstreit's dog.
That's the same dog that took a dump during college game day?
I thought that dog might have
gone
to doggy heaven.
passed away, yeah.
Okay.
I'm
saying, recently. This just happened this past.
Yeah, I thought at the end of the season that dog went to doggy heaven.
No. I'm talking about
this year
at Ohio State. Yes.
Oh, really?
Right before the kick.
I'm not aware from that.
His dog Peter took a dump.
Oh gosh, no.
And
I missed. He was nervous for Coach Corso's final game.
And Pat McAfee was telling the kid, I think he told him something like, when you were celebrating, you stepped in a pile of what.
Got it.
But you got enough money to get some new shoes now. So
nice.
Yeah, this is the current Peter.
He had a big weekend then.
Yeah,
he had a big weekend.
Gosh.
That's how that goes. Mark, let's check it down. Indianapolis Colts, week 1 at home against the Miami Dolphins. They are 1.5-point favorites. The over-under is 46.5. Mark Dykton, you said you're staying completely away from this one.
I mean, for the time being, it's only Tuesday, so I might get a little itchy and scratchy. But yeah, I mean, of all the games on the slate, there's not a game I feel less confident about right at the moment.
I think that's your
Colts
fantasy
Dolphins.
football league team name, Itchy and Scratchy.
No, my football team name, which I believe is Mondo Hunters. For the league.
Respect.
Kevin's the only one not laughing. He wants his Mondo.
I know he want to get the
So
fight.
what are we doing about this last team, Mark?
So I have been told by the other person who got the last spot the other day, they cannot join. So we have one spot available. So how we want to get rid of that is up to you guys, but we have until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning to get a 12th and final team in there.
432nd texter.
What?
No. No. Just kidding. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out by the end of the show. Tell you how you can enter to win that final spot. Elsewhere in college football over the weekend, Indiana starts off their season with a 27-14 home win over Old Dominion. Kevin, fairly uneven, but the defense certainly showed up. And as you've been pointing out, they were much more in control of that game than the score might indicate.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the zone reads, yes, they definitely showed up. I think Old Dominion only had 2 or 3 plays on IU's side of the field, and Kurt Cignetti was adamant that they were much, much better than that final score indicated. I do think there is some evidence around that. Goal to go definitely needs to be better. Inside the 10-yard line, Indiana was, that was ugly. So, Fernando Mendoza, I thought a little bit more erratic than I was expecting from him. I know they had the big touchdown drop, but definitely want to see a little bit more crispiness with his accuracy. So they now get the Owls of Kennesaw State coming up on Saturday.
All right. Mendoza was 18 of 31, 193 yards in that one. Good story for Purdue. The Barry Odom era is off and running. 31-0 win at home over Ball State. Ryan Brown, the quarterback, 311 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Also ran for another one. And look, if you're going to start a new era, that's the way to do it, James.
I'm not impressed. I need to see more.
31-0, you can't sneeze too much at that. They got everything done.
It should have been 41-0. But no, that was actually a very big win. And shout out to Ross 8 Stadium. I have been there to cover a game. I've been there, I want to say, maybe once or twice. It is beautiful. Like this time of year, nice place to catch a football game.
Also, we'll tell you that Miami eked out a 27-24 win over Notre Dame. That was in Miami. Notre Dame had trouble with the offense for, I'd say, 2.5 quarters, but they kind of started getting it together in the fourth quarter, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, I was really, really disappointed in the usage of Jeremiah Love, and I thought they were just too kid-glovey with C.J. Carr. I get that it is his first ever start.
In the rain.
It's on the road. It's in the rain. I thought they did, like, the horizontal passing game for, 7 straight drives.
Mm-hmm.
It's like at some point there, you trust the kid. He is supposed to be a gunslinger. You let him try and show off that arm. But, yeah, again, part of me, Jeff, wants to say, yeah, 3-point road loss. You were -2 in the turnover battle, top 10 team, not the end of the world. Then the other side of me is like, nope, you're a psychotic fan. Act like all hell's breaking loose and start thinking about what 0-12 could look like and who will be the next coach after Marcus Freeman.
Here's the litmus test. I'm sorry. After the game, knowing that you didn't have to work the next morning, it was Sunday night on a 3-day weekend. What was consumed after the game?
Yeah, there was one more bourbon. Yeah, probably shouldn't have been, but there was one more. But I went back. I watched the first quarter last night. I'll watch the second quarter, maybe the third tonight.
Oh, you're serious about this. Oh,
yeah.
How wild was that interception? Should Carr have thrown that ball? A little bubble screen.
I think that was just Miami being all over them because that's all they threw.
Dude, yeah. Miami had some wild playmaking. The one-handed catch.
That's the game.
There to end the first half.
Game.
Yeah, I was disappointed by that, and I knew Mark would just twist the knife as he has done here for 2.5 hours.
He came out swinging at 7:01. He came out swinging.
Doesn't sound like me at all.
I didn't seem to hear any of the other stuff when Notre Dame was making their march to the national title last year, Mark.
It's a new year.
Yeah.
You've been drinking since then. You've been drinking since that night. Started the whole thing off. Silence. Indiana State over McKendree.
Very quiet all of a sudden.
41-24. Northern Iowa beat Butler 38-14, and Valpo just all over Virginia Lynchburg 67-10. Week 2 coming your way. We'll get you ready to go for that the rest of the week here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. WNBA basketball, Indiana Fever losing Sunday night at Golden State 75-63. Kelsey Mitchell had 14. Natasha Howard had 13 in that one, and kind of not exactly what they were looking for right there, James. They get swept by the expansion team. They're now 11 games back in the WNBA standings, percentage points ahead of Seattle for that 7th, 8th, go back and forth spot, but a game and a half in front of the Sparks for being out of the playoffs right now.
Yeah, big game tonight, obviously, because this will potentially decide if you're in or out of the playoffs. They got the Mercury on the road, and we know the Mercury obviously want to get some get back against the Fever. They have no love lost for that team, no reason to obviously let them win. That is not going to happen. They're not going to rest anybody because the Mercury are trying to move up in the standings as well.
Yep. All right, we'll keep an eye on that. 9:45, the Fan pregame show with Eddie Garrison comes your way right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Major League Baseball, Cubs beat the Braves 7-6. The Reds over the Blue Jays 5-4. Cardinals lose to the Athletics 11-3. And the White Sox were winners over the Minnesota Twins by a score of 6-5. Indianapolis Indians off last night. They start a road trip tonight. They will be in Columbus for a 6:15 first pitch in that one. Also, the NTT IndyCar Series has come to an end for the year. Joseph Newgarden gets the win in the finale at Nashville. Alex Palou is the overall series winner. And Jake says he's got news coming up at noon today.
I think he teased that. Yeah, sent out a video, I believe it was yesterday, mentioning some of that. So largely a year to forget for Joseph Newgarden and Team Penske, but they do end on a high note there as Newgarden gets it done in his home city.
All right, and in NASCAR yesterday, it was a win for Indiana's own Chase Briscoe at the Cookout Southern 500. That one was at Darlington Raceway. Mark and I will both vouch for the burgers and fries at the Cookout.
We were in Lexington one time. We got into our hotel late, and I'm like, there's nothing to eat. We're starving. Right across from the hotel's Cookout. I'm like, that place is obviously open. The line is wrapped around the building. Went there as burgers, fries, chicken, you name it, they had it. Quesadillas, tacos. It is a smorgasbord, and it is outstanding.
All right, there you go. Anything else you guys want to throw in before we head to look at the future?
Just a reminder, Week 1 NFL, that'll be Eagles-Cowboys Thursday. I really like the Friday game in Brazil. That is Chiefs and Chargers in that one. So just like last year, we'll get the Thursday night Super Bowl team, and then we'll get the Friday game in Brazil.
All right, that's coming up this week, and we'll take a look ahead to other parts of the NFL season next. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Happy Tuesday, and thanks for listening wherever you might be, however you might be listening. You can listen to us at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan, 93.1 HD2, Mark. You can listen. That's really probably the strongest signal, to be honest with you. If you have an HD radio, just go to HD2 on 93.1. You can listen to us on the Fan app. You can listen to us at 1075thefan.com. You can go up to your friendly neighborhood smart speaker and say, hey, Alexa, or whatever her name happens to be in your brand, play 1075 The Fan. That'll pop right up. So we'll get that going on this morning.
Mark, that felt like roll bounce.
Yep.
Like I should have had the big afro and the bell-bottom pants, and I should have been going around the rink.
That movie was filmed in Lansing, Illinois, like 5 minutes from my parents.
Oh, seriously? I
Yeah,
never knew that.
grandparents' house. Yeah.
Roll bounce? What a movie.
At least like the old dumpy roller rink.
Yeah.
That was where that was filmed.
No kidding.
That's what I've been told.
Wow. Good for you. I thought
I had nothing to do with it.
No, yeah. Thought we'd do some forward thinking this morning here and take a look ahead to what we are concerned with around here when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts, Mark, and maybe get our crystal balls out and look ahead to what we think is going to happen in the AFC South. Why are you so worried about crystal ball?
I'm saying whenever we whip their crystal balls out, I said just easy now.
Yeah,
so
easy.
after a long week.
You notice, James, every single thing anybody says goes right back to that line of thinking for him.
You are saying these words.
Does the crystal ball involve the 80 Mitchell catch counter? Because we have to keep track of this.
Yes, we are going. We're having a
die on that hill.
We're having a season-long catch count for A.D. Mitchell.
I am going to die on that hill. Anyway.
Okay, after 2 weeks, he needs 78 more catches.
Hey, you say something, you got to go with it, man. That's just the way we roll. All right, looking ahead to the 2025 NFL season. And I asked this question specifically.
This is sorcery music, apparently.
Yes. It's like Halo.
I looked up crystal ball, and this is what it says: mythic crystal ball sound effect. This is what we're going with.
Baller from Third Eye Blind. That could be a nice re-entry.
Like Third Eye Blind.
That was different crystal they were talking about.
Was it? Okay, thank you.
All right, prognostications, predictions, how things are going to go, gentlemen, for the AFC South. Kevin Bowen, we'll start with you. What's your order of predicted finish in the AFC South for the four teams that none of which seem to be thought of as catching fire and running through the NFL?
Yeah, I'll probably go Texans, Colts, Jags, Titans.
Seems pretty
Is that
pretty
too
standard
chalky?
right there. It seems chalky, but if that's what it is, that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
What's the best case scenario for each team? You think Houston?
Well, I think you're one C.J. Stroud injury away from the division being kind of flipped upside down, really. Jacksonville, I think, is honestly a bit of an unknown. You know, can Liam Cohen come in there and get Trevor Lawrence to, back to playing good-ish football? Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr., if they do use Travis Hunter offensively, that could be quite the duo there. So I think Jacksonville is a little bit more of an unknown, and they could kind of push for higher there. But I don't. Tennessee, I'm not expecting Jaden Daniels 2.0 here from Cam Ward.
James Boyd, predicted order of finish and maybe some reasoning behind it in the AFC South.
Mark's going to put me to sleep here.
I'm going Texans, Jaguars, Colts, Titans. In that order.
So at least the Colts don't finish last in your prediction there.
No, but I think that Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson, which is why I think they'll have a better season. If he's healthy and Liam Cohen can kind of get that offense together, they've added some talent there, obviously, with Travis Hunter. We'll see how much he plays offensively, but Brian Thomas Jr. is a stud, and I truly believe that the Colts have a hard time winning games down there in Duval, so there's one loss for you. So that's my prediction.
All right, I'm going to go with pretty close to everybody else's because I think it's what it is. Houston Texans, I'm going to take number one to win it all. I think they've got a solid coaching staff. I think they've got a good quarterback. But as Kevin says, one quarterback injury away from going right back into the muck with everybody. They've got some outstanding wide receivers. I know that Mixon is going to be out to begin the season. See if Bradley Chubb can rebound from that knee that he had rebuilt over the offseason. Nick Chubb. What I said, Bradley, the rusher. Nick Chubb. The former Cleveland Brown running back. And I do think that Jacksonville, with Liam Cohen, they are unpredictable. You don't know what they're going to get. I do think Trevor Lawrence is a pretty good quarterback. I think being able to kind of have somebody that's more forward-thinking along the offense, which they don't seem to have had since he's been there, will help him. They've got a terrific wide receiver, and who knows what's going to happen with Travis Hunter. So, yeah, I would pick them second. I would pick the Colts third, and I think Tennessee is going to be way in the rearview mirror. I think that's going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL coming up this year. But when you start talking about those 2, 3, 4 teams, Kevin, in terms of record, I could see all those 3 teams being 8 wins or 9 wins right in there. So to me, head-to-head matchups in this division are going to be everything this year.
Well, I mean, we're not even 2 years removed from Jacksonville. I mean, weren't they like the 1 seed in the AFC with like 7 or 8 games to go in the season?
Great
something
playoff
like that.
game against Kansas City, remember that?
And just fell off a cliff.
They collapsed.
Yeah, they just collapsed down the stretch.
They missed the playoffs entirely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Duval.
Thank you, Coach Cohen. So we'll see that. We talked about this a lot today, and we get this texter here. We are 28 year season. I think they said their name was JR, which I guess that's Jeff Rickard. We're 28 year season ticket holders who did not renew after 10 years of mediocrity and no changes with Ballard, Steichen, and Richardson. We made the difficult decision. I wrote the Colts about our thoughts and decisions. Crickets. We were just a number. So yes, apathy is an appropriate term. Yeah. I think generally that's where a large chunk of the fan base lies. And, we've talked about this before, but now we're here. Mike Chappell, James, I think he joined us. I don't know if it was on set. I think it was on set. One of those first days of training camp. He joined us late in the show. And I said to him, when is the last time you have seen a Colts team walk into a season and the 3 pillars of your franchise have major questions about their future, and the 3 pillars being GM, head coach, and quarterback? And I brought it up to him because I hadn't seen it in my time covering it, and he went all the way back to 97. So think about that. Was Belichick's girlfriend alive in 97?
No.
I was going to say, I'm not sure. If she's, 24? Probably not.
So no, it's 2025. She's a millennial, baby. So there you go. It's been that long. And again, legitimate, the 3 pillars of your franchise. You have major questions about each of them. And now the person making the decisions is someone we've yet to see be in that seat of making those decisions, the big ones for the franchise.
Yeah, going back to your point about apathy, I responded to this person who was talking about not renewing their season tickets, and I think it's just hard to see a plan. And if there isn't a plan that you can fully support as a fan, even if it involves losing or not playing well or rebuilding, when you just don't know what's coming next, then why would you support it? And I think that's where we're at with the Colts. It's like you're saying, okay, the plan is for Daniel Jones to be our guy. But then you're also saying, well, hey, wait, don't give up on Anthony Richardson. Those 2 timelines don't really mesh well. Because in theory, if you are right, if Daniel Jones is good enough to be the guy, then he should be your quarterback of the future. If he plays well this season, then that will push Anthony Richardson back further on the timeline. So, again, I just don't understand what the vision is other than we're trying to get to the playoffs this year. And if that is your plan, then perhaps that is good enough to keep you around long term, but perhaps not on the other hand, because, again, you need more than, in my opinion, than just a playoff berth. You need to have some actual success. But right now it looks like they're just going with self-preservation, which, again, Anthony did not play well enough for me to feel like he's been slighted or something like that. It's just you made a bed and kind of bet on Daniel Jones. I know, Jeff, you weighed in on this as well with some of your comments, if you'd like to share what you said. Because you said you had a letter or something like that, part of my letter to the Colts, if I'm reading this text correctly.
No, that's another JR. It's the other JR. The guy who wrote that also has the initials JR.
I see what you're saying.
You guys have to have a battle in the alley of who gets to be called JR on the text line. We can't have
one thing,
I was so confused by this text for a second because I was like, wait a second. I'm like, what is going on?
And one thing, too, to point out now that we're in a game week, it's like some of that, my general long-term thoughts are skeptical, concerning, however you want to label it. But I also can sit here in the 2025 NFL season bubble, and thanks in large part to the AFC South, I do think the Colts can be a fringe playoff team. And now the question becomes, does the quarterback decision, does it change defensively? Does that flip a couple of those games that haven't gone their way the last couple of years? So even though that, to me, doesn't undermine or lessen or maybe even change the big picture concerns, they got to pick 7 of 16 teams.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's nearly half the conference. It makes the playoffs.
You know what's
if
crazy?
You've won 8 and 9 each of the last 2 years. Could you not be right there, win 8 or 9 again this year?
Okay, but then I want to say last year all 8 of your wins were by one score, one possession. So we could easily say, well,
yeah, you can
flip some of those into wins.
Sure.
You can flip some of those into losses too. So that's where I'm just excited to finally have a real game to analyze, because you can go, crazy with the hypotheticals on both sides.
You know what's crazy about the schedule too, and I think we talked about it when it first came out, but I remind people, they play Tennessee twice in the first 8 games. They don't play another division until week 13. They play all of their games against Houston, Jacksonville, between week 13 and week 18.
Yeah, I think they got a good division schedule. I think you want to play the rookie quarterback early. So, yes, you face Cam Ward, was it twice before Halloween?
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't play Houston until late, and I think Houston could have some, issues. O-line, keeping Stroud healthy, that aspect to it. And if your defense is going to have early growing pains, which like that to me is a real concern for Sunday. If you don't get a pass rush, if you don't make if you don't make Tua pump and have to think about some things, then all of a sudden you're going to let that guy really settle into a rhythm with obviously some pretty potent wideouts. So that is a huge storyline, I think, for right here in week 1.
All right, Mark Dykton, I believe we have one more spot in the Fan Morning Show Fantasy Football League to give away.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be doing it tomorrow. Have you been thinking about how you want to give away that? So we're going to do the draft tomorrow, so we need to give away the spot today. You've been thinking about how you want to do that.
I'm trying to think how we do it, because the YouTube chat should get a fair shake, and people who are streaming, because there's a bit of delay. So I'm trying to figure out how we do this fairly so that everyone can get involved. So maybe let's hold off till the break, and we'll think about it in the break, and then we'll come back, and then we'll give it away.
Go like a random trivia question, not necessarily take fast fingers, just take random number on the line.
That could be it too. So yeah, maybe start lighting the phones up.
Oh, he had a direction he was going. Now you just
you've kind of pivoted me. I had an idea, but that might be a little bit too in the weeds for some people.
Just trying to help, something Mark hasn't really done to me at all.
Wow.
Today.
Well, let's go to break. Let's brainstorm
the
this
war
thing.
Is real.
And then we'll give
James
it away
and
in the
I'll
next
just
segment.
mind our own business over here. Let those two work it out. We'll tell you all about it next. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. One spot on the line. Mark on fire this morning.
Every roller rink that I was at, this song came on, and the parents
say,
left.
Jeff, you don't
and the
know
kids
nothing about this. You don't know nothing about
You
this.
don't think they had roller rinks when I was a kid?
Wait, what's this song playing?
I've heard. I don't know what it is
I was
called.
about to say, you don't know
but I
nothing
the
about this.
song.
See, that's in my culture. Whenever the music come on, they like, it's grown folk business. You don't know nothing about that, James. I know something about this.
So, Mark, you saying Jordan turned on a little pony, and then all of a sudden, Coach.
I just know
Coach walked into the bedroom and said, "We're on to Charlotte."
Is this the new Cisco, Jordan? What are we playing here?
Could it have gone any
This
worse
Usher?
the way that offseason has gone for Carolina and Bill Belichick? Any worse?
It's sickening how happy that made me last night.
Does this stem from being a Colts fan growing up, or is this you don't like Bill Belichick? Or
Yeah, probably. Belichick just rubs me the wrong way. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's rooted in that, James. And then, like, I don't know, the hire just, I don't know. It just frustrated me how it all went down. You know, if you read, like, some of the deep reporting from some of it, it's like basically a couple North Carolina boosters wanted this to happen.
Yeah.
So the AD, like, didn't even get a chance to, you know, really conduct a search.
Bill Belichick. My resume ain't looking like these other guys.
Or do something. Yeah, and I wanted Tommy Reese. I wanted the runner-up to get the job.
Fair enough. Well, first loser. Didn't get it.
First thing you got to do is clean up. You can't give up 2 defensive touchdowns to the other team. That's just nobody's going to win that game.
They're going to run a table after this and make Kevin mad. I
don't
can't
know
believe
about
Cameron
that.
Wolf was saying that our earlier guest from NFL Network was saying that his friends, after they scored their first touchdown of the game, were telling him they're going to the college football playoff.
I mean, did you see Twitter? It was unbelievable.
I saw a lot of people crowning him. Oh, that's the greatest coach ever. This is what we expected. And it's like, well, you know, a lot of game left, and they got smoked.
It didn't go well after the first drive, that's for sure. Mark Dykton, what have we come up with to hand out the final spot in our Fan Morning Show fantasy football sweepstake here?
We brainstormed. We figured it out. I'm sending it out on the YouTube chat as we speak, so that's fair for everybody. The first person to text the show the correct age gap between Bill Belichick and his girlfriend Jordan Hudson gets the final fantasy spot. 317-239-1070. Not asking for ages, the age gap.
Jeez,
How many?
This is a lot of math here on this Tuesday morning.
There's a lot of stuff on the line. You want those last fantasy spot? Everybody who says they want it, come get it.
It's a 12-team league, right, Mark?
12-team league.
Yeah.
So we'll draft tomorrow in the 9 o'clock hour, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What is your name, Mark?
Mondo Hunters.
Kevin?
I think I had something Speedo related.
No one wants to see your Speedo, I think, is what yours
That's what it
is.
was. It was kind of a long name.
Mm-hmm.
I have a long acronym.
What's yours, Jeff? I don't even know.
Effectively Wild.
Oh, wow.
Care to explain?
Yeah, a long time ago when I was working
I don't
Major
know if
League
we
Baseball.
want that, James, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah. You know, it gets a little wild on the text line when it involves Jeff. So keep it PG, Jeff. I'll let you continue.
No, when I was working at MLB Network Radio, I did a show all the time with Steve Phillips, the former general manager, and he used the term effectively wild once. And I thought, man, that is a perfect explanation for about half of life, is it not? Effectively wild.
There you go.
So it stuck, and I've been using it ever since. So
used for the Colts
that's what's
season.
going on there. So, Mark, we will find out who that 12th and final entry is fairly soon.
Yep, they are flying in now.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of incorrect answers.
These texts are.
I have no idea. I would guess.
I'm not guessing anything under 50.
I was going to guess.
He's not 74.
He's not far off.
But
I think he's a lot closer to 74 than you think.
I'm not going to say the answer on air, but I'm going to look at it. I'm going to look at his age right
I
now.
think I know the answer.
I would have guessed
Okay,
50-ish.
you know what?
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's
at this
73.
Point, at this point, we have to have the correct answer.
Yeah,
73?
I have the correct answer. The correct answer is 49 years old.
I would have gotten that right.
73 for Mr. Belichick, 24 for Miss Jordan Hudson.
Gosh, they almost allow the age gap.
Their age difference is twice what her actual age is.
That's awesome.
The
I
age
love it.
difference is twice what her age is.
I didn't even think about that. The amount of math being done this morning.
And I'm not a math guy, but that's quite the gap right there.
That's crazy.
so
What do you want your
weird.
birthday
That is
theme
so
to be this year,
weird.
Jordan? You want Bluey?
I was on the way in. I was listening to some Carolina radio on the way in, and they are melting down. They were talking about the dog wearing the headset. That's what Carolina football is in the eyes of the rest of the country now. Just a dog with a headset in the fourth quarter.
You more disappointed in Arch or Chapel Bill this weekend?
Chapel Bill, Arch was making his first real start on the road against maybe the best defense in the country and a defending champion. I don't,
Arch. Bill's got rings. Arch, what you got, man? Carrying that last name?
But
No,
Arch had some misses in the first half.
He did. He was nervous.
I did think he made a couple big league throws there late as they tried to get back into it. But, man, he had a couple of ones in the first half. I'm thinking to myself, boy.
What was the one in the second half? Was it like the third down throw on the crosser where he threw it behind the guy? That was the throw where I'm like, man.
But then he had the drop on the third and whatever it was on that final drive there. So, yeah,
He'll be fine.
I appreciated like some of his willingness to try and fit some balls in some tight windows there late, and that kind of helped him get back into it. But, yeah, I mean, honestly, now Monday night is when we watch the next hype train, right, Mark? Ben Johnson?
Yep, pretty much. Jordan, can you explain who Miss Rachel is? What's Miss Rachel?
Gosh, it's so sad how much I could laugh at Mark's Belichick impression.
Oh, man. We got the Indiana Fever late tonight, 10 o'clock against the Phoenix Mercury. Airtime with the Fan pregame show, and Eddie Garrison comes your way at 9:45. Fever sitting there at 21-19, just 4 games remaining. Time now for our Fever Focus, brought to you before and after every game by Payless Liquors. Get more Payless at Payless Liquors. And the question for both of y'all is, do you think we see Caitlin Clark in the regular season, much less the postseason again for the Indiana Fever? Because there's no real update.
No in the regular season.
James?
I'm going to say no.
I think no on the regular season. And if
the regular season ends next Tuesday, right?
And how confident do you feel if they bring her back just
There's a little
for
bit of a
first
gap
round series there?
I don't know if it's Belichick to Jordan type gap on the schedule from a playoff standpoint, but if I remember correctly, they will take like not a week off, but close to a week off to get into that playoff series. And James, it's no longer best of 3, right, out of the gate? Didn't they change that to best of 5?
I believe it's still best of 3 for the first round.
Maybe they changed the finals to best of 7, something like that.
Yeah, the finals is best of 7 now. But I believe now for the first round, you at least are going to guarantee 1 home game.
Home road home?
Yeah. Because last year, I remember that was a big deal for the Fever. They got to playoffs for the first time in several years and did not have a home playoff game.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. We got Jake Query coming your way at noon with some possible breaking news for IndyCar.